All right, a very good morning, everybody, from the flight deck once again, and welcome to another live stream with Captain Nabs here. And just going to adjust my, well, ever so slightly there. Welcome back to the stream, everybody. We have got another Pilot's Life episode coming at you today. It's been 2 weeks since the last one, and this is basically my time frame nowadays, it seems. Just especially being summer, the amount of time that I kind of have to dedicate to streaming. Because it's a pretty substantial investment in time. Like when you think about it, it's 3 to 4 hours. Like some people do a stream for like half an hour, 2 hours. That's fine, but you know, you can do that in a week easily. You can squeeze that in every week. But when you're doing a 3 to 4 hour stream, trying to find that window with the rest of life going by, it can be difficult. So I know that I have a few subscribers out there, and once I had a few subscribers, I kind of wanted to commit to streaming once a week. But I've just found it to be almost just too much with the amount of time it takes. And it's not just the time spent on stream, but invested around the periphery as well. Like just sort of setting up the flight and setting up my studio, making sure that everything is set up, because it's generally about 30 to 40 minutes of setup before I ever start the stream. So it's not an inconsequential amount of time. It's easily 4 to 5 hours invested in every stream. So not to say that I don't enjoy it, but just trying to find and poke that big a hole in my life where I can dedicate to this sort of thing is not always easy with everything else you've got going on in life. So I do my best, and I'm going to at least try to continue at least every second week. If it's been 2 weeks, I feel guilty about it, but every week has just become a little bit too much with the schedule and everything else. So anyways, regardless of that, here we are again in Washington, DCA, and I guess I could throw myself up there as well. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. I look a little washed out there. That shirt should be a lot more, a lot deeper red color. Why am I so washed out here? Do I dare play with the levels live on stream? That's always fun. Let's see here. What can I do to increase the redness of my shirt here? Hue shift. And I think it's not that one. I think it's the secondary filter. So I actually have two filters, one before and one after the... how about blue? It should be a little bit more red, something like that. That's about right, I think. Yeah, I have two sets of filters, one before and one after the removal of the green screen behind me, so that it helps kind of even out the green screen to make it a little bit easier for it to find and remove. But sometimes it depends on when I sit down and what's going on, but also just the general light level of the day. Is it a bright day? Is it a dim day? Because I do have windows right there, right over there, and they do kind of screen out a fair amount of. They do have some blinds on them, and then they do, you know, let a fair amount of light in. So it depends on how bright it is outside for the day. And I mean, it's a nice day outside, but it's a little bit overcast right now. Although I think it's going to be a beautiful day. Anywho, I keep getting distracted. Here we are today with our JetBlue livery. Here's the Peacock JetBlue livery, which is kind of an interesting one. It's definitely unique and different, and I do like it. It's called "This Peacock Can Fly" is the name of the livery. Exclusive streaming partner of JetBlue. That's why they did it. Okay, yeah. See, now that makes sense. And it's a nice colorful livery. It kind of lives it with the JetBlue's kind of playful paint schemes. I do like it, and I will say that like I did have a look in the livery manager actually this morning, and there's a whole bunch more liveries. So I think it's JVation has been doing it. I didn't actually look at the tagline on them, but it looks like somebody taxiing behind me, because it suddenly sounds very noisy here. No? Weird. It suddenly felt very noisy there. Anyways, yeah, because JVation has uploaded a whole bunch more liveries, JetBlue liveries specifically. This guy just loves his JetBlue, which is cool. I've got nothing against JetBlue, but he really likes his JetBlue, so he's uploaded a whole bunch more liveries, and I'm gonna have to start flying more of them. Every day, every episode is going to be a new livery, because he's got like 24 JetBlue liveries out there, and each one is unique in its own way. There's kind of the general ones with different tails, but then there's all these unique ones as well that JetBlue has done over the years that he's captured and brought into the sim for us. So yeah, we're gonna use a different one every day and kind of enjoy that. But in the meantime, we should probably get going here. I've already killed almost 10 minutes here, just yakking away. So we should hop into the flight deck in a minute and have a look at our flight plan here. So let's go ahead and hop in the flight deck. And I'm going to have a look at the flight plan here. So if I can bring this up here for you. The reason why I'm going to have a look at this is because we do have a couple of interesting things going on today here. So we have a number of MELs. So we have some weather fuel for convective weather over Florida for the arrival. But then we also have a number of MELs that are going to impact our operation today. So let's have a quick look here at the MEL. And you guys should be able to see this, I hope. Nope, I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry, guys. That's the one. Sorry. So there you go. So there's our flight plan. There's a couple things on the flight plan here. Weather fuel for convective weather over Florida for arrivals. But then we have a bunch of MELs here. 3242-03 alpha, 3242-08 alpha, 3242-09 alpha. So when you see a whole bunch of it like this, and especially when they kind of have very similar numbers, you've got to think to yourself that probably one of these has invoked all the rest of them. So let's go to the MEL here, which I've got on the other screen because I was looking at this. I thought this might be interesting just to see how this impacts our operation today. So we're looking for 3242-03 alpha and 03 alpha. Here it is. So 3242-03 alpha, repair interval Charlie, which is 10 days, number installed 1, number required 0, placard no. So BSCU system number 1 is in op. May be inoperative, provided that the BSCU system 2 is operative. Well, I don't see that as MEL, so that should be good. The affected system is deactivated, so there will be a task for it, usually some circuit breakers perhaps being pulled. It is checked that the CFDS does not report a fault related to the landing gear system disagree alert before each flight. And the auto brake low, medium, and max push button switch decel light and auto brake low, medium, max push button switch on lights are considered inoperative. So those lights are only controlled by BSCU1. So BSCU1 being in op, and I'm going to actually look this up in my other MEL binder here to see what if it lists the associated maintenance condition, because it's not listed here. Sometimes it's actually securing some valves or disconnecting some electrical cables to make sure that the system does not operate at all. In this case, let's see here, 3242-03 alpha 1. And this is actually a fairly extensive setup here, procedure. Here we go. On the upper ECAMDU, if brakes system 1 fault is shown, open and tag circuit breaker 2 Golf Golf, which is probably in the avionics space. Probably not one of the circuit breakers in here. I don't believe we have any double letters in here anywhere, unless it's... Oops. No, I don't believe we have any of those in here, so chances are that is in the avionics bay, and we can't actually do it ourselves, unfortunately. And then there's a whole bunch of things they have to check before they release it to make sure that everything that remains is working properly. So we're not going to do those procedures. We'll just say that maintenance has come and taken care of those items for us. So yeah, and then it also says refer to item 3242-08 and 3242-09. So because deactivated BSCU1 also deactivates these particular systems, we're going to also read those two MELs. So those two MELs have also been added to our flight plan. And let's see. 3242-08 alpha, repair interval C, 10 days as well. Number installed 3, number required 0, 1 or more may be inoperative. So no real procedure there. And also for 9 alpha, the same thing. Repair interval C, 10 days. Number installed 3, number required 0, placard yes, and 1 or more may be inoperative provided that when appropriate. The associated auto brake mode arming switch mode arming is displayed on the wheel SD page. So we just got to look on the wheel SD page to see that the correct auto brake mode is armed. So the buttons work, but the lights inside the buttons do not work. And as you can see here, we do have that system 1 fault message there. And we should be able to just clear that right out. And let's see here. So we shouldn't really even read the status because we haven't even turned the airplane on yet. So we got external power, but we haven't even started turning the airplane on. So let's just start getting some of this stuff set up here. But it is important before you get in the airplane to review the MELs and understand what they are, what they mean, what their implications are for your flight, and decide if they're acceptable for your flight. Every captain has the prerogative to reject any aircraft that he feels is unsuitable for the particular flight in mind. So if the MELs are too big a distraction, then the airplane can be rejected. All right, so let's just make sure we've got the correct database. 13th of June to 10th July. That is correct for today. And let's see here. So we're going to go be JetBlue 1579, 1579, and we're going to be from KDCA to KFLL is us. And let's get that IRS initializing at KDCA. So again, we go back to our flight plan. Just easiest way to find the lat long is at the first point in your flight plan here. 3851.1 north, yep. By 7702.3 west, yep. Align on that reference point, done. All right. And with that in mind, we can also do a couple of other things here. Let's go ahead and load up the flight plan into my Fenix. There we go, that's the one we're looking for. And we can start the loading process. There goes GSX, thank you. Let's start setting up.
Roger.
All right, so today we have Alicia. She's now got her little sunglasses on, so she is set up for flight. Oh, it's just silly. But I can't help but get a little kick out of some of these silly little details, but they're fun too. They're just fun little details. All right. So we are waiting for the IRSs to align. While they do that, we have two choices. We can do it the easy way or we can do it the hard way. We can use the sim brief calculator or we can use the integral calculator. I think today we'll use the integral calculator. It just makes life a little bit easier. So there we go, DCA, and I don't even know what we're doing here. So we don't have any ATC online today on VATSIM, so we're going to go. She's running the test. ATIS.report seems to have permanently gone off the air. Navigraph supposed that they might be pillaging ACAR's signals, and I think that was probably the case. So, let's see here. It is FAA ATIS. And what are we looking for? We're looking for DCA. All right, so DCA information kilo, 1352, 180 at 8, 10 miles, fuel at 3,000, scattered 25,000, 27 degrees, 9 degrees, 3036 on the meter. Arrivals expected for visual 19 landing, 1915 departing, 1915. Multiple approaches in effect. South advisory, no temps, runway 22 closed. Numerous cranes in vicinity, read back altitude departures, read back all runway assignments, and hold short instructions. Do not enter prohibited airspace north of airport. RMP 19 on request. All right, so 19 it is. So perfect. That's what we've got in here by the looks of it. Runway 19. Looks like a dry day out there. Looks like a bright sunny day and this heat wave going on right now. Anti-ice should be off. We'll do packs on for departure. We'll sync with our current load sheet. And then what I'll do is I will do what we actually do at work, which is we always then go up by 500 kilo. Son of a bugger. Stupid thing. All right. You don't have to press the enter key, but it takes just long enough that I keep on trying to press the enter key, and then it ends up pressing the reset key. And that's just like a little quality of life glitch that needs to be worked on. 65.2. And it goes away, but if it doesn't go away within the first second, then you reach down there to press reset. So we always go up by 500 kilos in my company. That way, it just gives us a little bit of margin. If the weight goes up slightly, we're not constantly recalculating the takeoff data. Sync live weather, and we're just going to do full length, so let's go ahead and calculate that. Looks like we got some valid takeoff numbers there. It's a little bit hard to see. Is this as bright as this gets? No, not at all. That's better. That's a little better. It's a little easier to read. Anyways, yeah, looks like we got flex numbers. Flaps 3 departure, though, because it's a short runway. That's not unexpected. With a bit of a heavy load going down to Florida. Not really 65.2, but very good. All right, but while she's doing that, let's have a look here. And we got system break 1, system fault again. All right, so probably because we brought the power on, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to emergency cancel the brakes system 1 fault. It's a known MEL. We know about it. So we're going to cancel that. And it should have gone away, but it didn't. So maybe we'll do that once we get in flight. Status now looks more reasonable. Autopilot 1 and 2 with the IRS is still aligning, and brake system 1. That autopilot 1 and 2 should go away shortly. Let's just get a few more things turned on here. We need the oxygen on. We need the lamp lights on. Confirm the parking brake is on. The engines are off. Let's confirm we have enough engine oil. Oh, that's right. She fired up the APU. Wasted my precious, precious gas. Hydraulic fluids are good, and oxygen looks good at 1800 psi. All right. Just waiting for this IRS to finish aligning, and then we can go ahead and finish the rest of our setup here. And yeah, that's it. Otherwise, we're waiting for things to load. Things are happening. Catering is done. Looks like they're done loading. So now we got our fuel truck underneath the wing. Our fuel truck underneath the wing. Catering trucks are about to back away, and then the baggage loaders should show up along with the passengers. And I do love the synchronization, and there's one new feature as well. And before I forget, let's open that flight deck door. Let's put that seat back where it belongs. Let's open that flight deck door, because when they start boarding, something new and exciting is going to happen. You guys probably already know what it is, and the fact that I kind of hinted at it with the door, but yeah. All right, still IRS aligned for 2 more minutes. What can we do? We can also set the altimeter. What did we say it was here? We said it was 3036. That's some serious high pressure there. Nice. That's probably why it's so hot and sunny. It is right now it's a heat wave for at least pretty much the entire eastern half of North America. .1028. So let's get 1028 on there. There we go. 1028's on there. And any second now they should start boarding. And here we go. Look at this. We have cabin crew. Unfortunately, we have the jet bridges right there, and the canopy is right inside the airplane, but we have actual flight attendants, and what you're going to see is you're going to see actual passengers now boarding the flight. So that black stripe there is just the jet bridge. It just went down too far in the animation, which is, you take it with a grain of salt like it is. It's amazing that all these systems from different developers work together. It really is sometimes phenomenal, the amount of stuff that can work together. So you're willing to forgive little glitches like this from time to time where multiple different softwares are trying to be compatible with one another. All right, looks like the IRSs did finish aligning, so we can go ahead and hop in the box and get there's the nav accuracy upgrade. Thank you. GPS is primary. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and initialize our flight in the ACAR system. Send the initialization data request. It should be JetBlue 1579 today. Did I even mention where we're going? We're going from DCA to Fort Lauderdale. I don't think I even mentioned that in all my yakking and all this time. We are going from KDCA, Washington Reagan, to Fort Lauderdale. And let me just turn off the auto follow for a second there, and there we go. That's what we're doing. Should be about a 2-hour and 45-minute flight is what it's scheduled at. So yeah, it'd be a good amount of time. We've got lots of good stuff to talk about today. JetBlue 1579, DCA-KFLL, alternates Melbourne Beach. Estimated time en route just 1:55. Not too bad at all. And let's see here. So that is initialized. Just need the secondary flight plan. KDCA-KFLL, Scoob, Ears, Magic, that all sounds good. So we will go ahead and activate the secondary. And AOC secondary flight plan uplink. Perfect. And from here...
I'm back. No issue on the walk around.
Thank you. She magically teleports back into the seat. but we now have passengers actually boarding our airplane, finding their seats, sitting down, just clipping through each other. That's fine. Talk about not respecting her space. That man just clipped right through her. But just adds a little bit more to the whole atmosphere, the whole thing. You got this chaotic thing happening in the front, which it always is. Nobody has to stow a bag, so there's a little bit of lack of realism there, but nevertheless, she's back. So if you're ready, we can get started with the overhead flow. So just go through the whole overhead panel, make sure every switch is where it should be. Basically, it's almost all lights out. Running the CVR test, we should hear the chime. You already tested all the fire switches, so that's fine. Let's see here. That should be in manual mode unless we need it. All right, so we got fuel. We got 8,900 kilos. Is that what we needed? I can't honestly remember. Didn't really look closely at that part of the flight plan. Looked at some of the other parts of the flight plan. So let's just have a quick look here. Fuel, 8,900 kilos is what we need. Perfect. So we got the fuel we need, 8,900 kilos. It is balanced across both tanks. We'll record it on the flight plan itself, and we can go ahead and turn the pumps on for the tanks we're going to use. And yeah, there we go. Battery test for the first flight of the day. Turn the batteries off for a second. Make sure they both indicate off. And then turn them back on. The voltages should pop up and you should see a charging amperage. It should be less than 60 amps within 10 seconds. 7 amps is pretty good. If it's more than 60 amps after 10 seconds, then it's an indication that the batteries got discharged somehow and need to charge for longer before you depart. So you just repeat the same check again after about 20 to 30 minutes. Make sure that they have charged enough that they pass the check. Given the temperature outside, actually I might leave Pack 2 on. Normally turn Pack 2 off to reduce the load on the APU, the fuel burn, and yeah. But if it's 30 degrees outside, that may not be possible. Ah, that's the one thing I forgot to start was my mini FCU. Darn it. There we go. Mini FCU started. Perfect. All right, green. The date is the 19th of June. The accumulator's good. And we should actually get the Washington DCA CTAF up here. So I've just got charts over here on my other screen. I'm pretty sure there's only one tower frequency, so that'll double as our CTAF here, which is
the security and safety check are all done. Are we good to start boarding?
Go for it.
Okay.
$19.1. Oops. No, 19.1. There we go, 19.1. All right. We got COM 1 is up, Cal. Turbulence is okay. Pressure, field elevation in Fort Lauderdale should be 0 feet. Makes sense. Cat 2, brake system 1, that's all good. Just reach for my thrust quadrant because I push it away a little bit when I'm not flying, so it's not kicking, so I'm not knocking it with my hands. All right, so that's good. Park brakes on. I just do this, and the only reason I do this is what I notice is that in vPilot, if you leave whatever the last comm you've kind of left on there, it will stay in there, and if you have COM 1 on either of the radios, it'll keep listening to it even if you try to switch to COM 2. So I deactivate the entire FO's secondary audio control panel. All right, and we did get a message here from Auto ATC. Does not appear to be any controllers. 3666. Took too long. 3666. There we go. All right. Now we got, let's see here, 1 FT2. There we go. That's what I'm trying to do. 1 FT2. Altimeters 3036 inches indicating 10 feet. 3036 inches indicating 10 feet. 3036 inches indicating 10 feet. And heading 359, 359, 359, 359, 359, 359. Perfect. All right, so we're going to hop in the box and get this whole thing set up here. So today we've got an A320-200 with a V2527 Alpha 5 engines. The database is current until the 10th of July. I did put a performance factor on there? I usually do. I hope I didn't leave that plus. Fuel bias plus 0. Nope, there is no fuel factor on this one. Okay, that's fine. Good. All right, so performance factor plus 0. And no VORs to detune that I was aware of, so nothing is deselected. Initialization for JetBlue 1579. Oops. All right, going from DCA to Fort Lauderdale. Alternates Melbourne Beach cost index, and I'm just going to pull this up here. All right, cost index of 5, altitude's 380. And the temperature there should be 7 above ISA. So cost index 5, flight level 380 for the cruise.
Washington traffic, JetBlue 4538, final approach runway 19er.
Departing 19 on the. And hopefully that transmission came through. I wasn't actually watching the screen there. Wasn't watching the levels. All right, it's the Amy 1 as far as Scoob, and then in Fort Lauderdale, planning 10 left via the CUDA 3 Magic. So it's the Amy 1 all the way up to Scoob. 19, Amy 1 Scoob. We'll insert that. And for the far end, we're going to do arrival. I'll put in 10 left, and we'll figure it out as we go here. The CUDA 3, and it's the Magic transition. So ILS 10 left, CUDA 3 Magic. Insert. All right, and we have no step climbs. I don't believe we have any user defined, so the total distance today, again, ground distance is 823. I've got 820. That's very reasonable. And the routing, it should be Scoob. After that, it's Ears, Cheese, Yankee 291 to Magic. So we'll just check it in here. Scoob, Ears, Cheese, and then Yankee 291 all the way to, well, it wasn't very far to get to Magic for the CUDA 3. All right, RadNav, auto-tune for the departure. Secondary, we'll do the immediate return in here just to be safe. So after Amy, we'll put in DCA again. KDCA, so this is the secondary. New destination, Amy, KDCA, and we'll put in the RNAV to 19 is fine. No start required. All right, so KDCA, Fergie, Derek, that all looks like the RNAV 19 we did last time. It ends at DCA 19. Recheck in the primary, it's DCA 19 down to Fort Lauderdale, 10 left.
Washington traffic, JetBlue 4538, runway 19er vacated.
All right, that was a quick landing. All right, route reserve 0, alternate, and final. So alternate is showing 1.5, final is 1.0. So 1.5 to get to Melbourne Beach, 1.0 for the final 30 minutes. And ZFW, let's see what's on the menu here. Chances are they finished boarding by now. Let's see here. We'll just look at that one. That one's a preliminary load sheet. Let's check the more recent one. Final load sheet, 56.3.
Traffic, JetBlue 4538, cross runway 22.
56.3 by 29.5. 56.3 by 29.5. And with a block fuel of, what did we say again? 8.9, right? 8.9, yep. 8.9. So this gives us a takeoff weight of 65 tons. Cruise above max level. And let's go here. Planned at 65.2, so it's always good to give a little margin. It was at 64.7, so we're good there at 65.2. And wind component for the check here. Average wind component of plus 25. All right, so let's just run the check really quick. And the one thing that should be changed, Fenix should change this, is that when you put in a new number that needs to, that recalculates the performance, such as putting in new winds, it blanks these. These should go back to dashes until the calculation is done. That way you know that it's still calculating if it takes a long time. Sometimes it takes a long time. It could take 30 seconds for the calculation to run if it's a long, complicated flight. Anyways, we're looking at 5 tons for an hour 5 tons for an hour 57. I got an hour 55 with 4.7, so it's a little bit over, but it's within reason. And an extra 1.4. So contingency is 200. Weather is 200, so that gives us 1,400. So that adds up there, at least for the extra. Zero that back out and get the actual winds. Just wait a second. That actually happens pretty quick there. Perfect. Wind data uplink. Winds in the climb phase are blue. Cruise phase are blue. Descent phase are all blue. All right. Performance. And so we'll just go over here again and just send it to the MCDU. Oops. What am I trying to do here? That's what I'm trying to do. All right. So, and let's just double check this here. So flaps 3 up 0.557. Flaps 3 up 0.557. This is for runway 19. And 132, 133, 137. 132, 133, 137. 1510 across the bottom. 1520 is what it's got. And yeah, we'll just go with it. Obviously didn't send those numbers. That's fine. 1520. 210 is the green dot speed. We'll pre-select that for the climb. Going back to the prog page. All right, DCA 0 miles away is fine. All right, flight level 380 is the cruise. The optimum will be 35. The max right now 37.8. So I think what we'll do is we'll cut the cruise down to 36, just to stay on that max, and we'll see how it looks once we get up to cruise altitude. Predictive GPS primary nav accuracy high, and the IRSs are all naving at 0.2 drifts. That's perfect. All right, we don't have any clearance, so we did get our auto ATC clearance there. 3666 is in the box. We have no ATC online, so we're just going to do a quick now check of the flight plan. First of all, fuel is boarded, balanced, and recorded. The load, we've already got the final numbers, and the logbook is on board and has been checked. We got the MELs that we expect to have on there. So let's go to the flight plan page here, and let's pull up my charts, because I stopped doing it in the sim because it's so much weight on the sim to load the Navigraph chart sometimes. So we'll look at the AME1 departure. The only thing, of course, is that then I can't press any buttons because it makes everything disappear. So maybe I will bring it up at least for the briefing phase here. Yeah, it's going to chug the sim along for a couple seconds while it loads here. All right, so the AME1 departure for runway 19. Climb on a heading of 187 to 515 feet, then direct to Revki. Nope. Then direct to Fimby. Cross Fimby at or above 1500. What if I just get rid of this for a second here? There we go. Cross Fimby at or above 1500. And at or below 230 knots. Then on track 156 to McNabb. Then on track 156 to Amy, cross Amy at above 5,000. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more on this here. So you can see it says 1,500, 230 knots there. McNabb and Amy above 5,000. And then we have also after Amy, we have Colin and Scoob. Colin, Scoob, it's all there. Perfect. So that's all there. And the top altitude for the departure is 5,000. Which we just read on the chart as well. So there's 5,000 feet set. Roger. All right. Are you ready for the takeoff briefing?
Go ahead.
Hi guys, here is the load sheet for you.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a safe flight.
We'll go ahead and ditch the external power in case they take it off. All right, so departure today. Let's see. First of all, technical status of the airplane. We do have the MELs with the BSCU. It doesn't really affect the performance. It just affects the fact that nothing will light up on the auto brake panel. That's the biggest implication. And so we need to we need to verify it on the wheel page that the correct selection is active and armed. NOTAMs, I had a quick perusal, but let's have one more quick perusal here because it really was a very quick perusal. So DCA, airport beacon, that's fine. It's daytime anyways, 119. Closed daily, 300 to 1000, that's fine. SIDS, anything for the Amy? No, nothing. So yeah, nothing affecting our departure. So the Amy 1 RNAV departure for Washington Reagan National. Radar required, TDI required, GPS required, turbojets only RNAV 1. Pilots should comply with noise abatement, avoid a P56. And we're not doing runway 1, so none of the runway 1 notes apply. It's all routing constraints as published. Let's see here. The noise abatement, they don't actually have a reference page published for noise abatement. Oh, they do actually. It's extremely rare for American airports to have noise abatement published at all. But basically the idea is they want us to fly down the river. South, follow the Potomac River to DCA radial 5, then expect radar vectors. If unable to maintain visual reference to Potomac, to join the DCA radial 185. That's the noise abatement procedure. Basically, we're going to fly the SID. It's going to take us straight down the river. So that's the noise abatement procedure. In terms of the company procedures, not about this airport, level of service a non-issue today. And yeah, engine out, we'll also just do straight ahead down the river to the MSA of, what is it, 3,000 feet, I think, is the minimum sector altitude around here. 2,100 actually, 2,100. So we'll climb to 3,000. That'd be fine. They've had an engine out. There you go. Performance in the box today for the departure off of runway 19. It is a left seat departure, full length departure, runway 19. No takeoff shift. Drive runway. Flaps 3. Flex of 57. V1 132. VR 133. V2 137. Stand transition 18,000. 1520 across the bottom for the noise 2 departure. 210 knots. The green dot speed carried forward for the climb. It's going to be managed departure. We've got climb blue and nav blue in the box. Once we get airborne, I'll get the autopilot on probably around 1,000 feet just because it's going to be busy departure. We've got lots going on and the FO is not that helpful. I can't think of much else. Threats for this departure, P56 is north of the field, so we're not too worried about the P56 unless they switch to runway 1, but it seems like a steady wind out of the south, so I don't anticipate that. There's no VATSIM traffic on, or there's no VATSIM ATC online, so we do have the VATSIM CTAF frequency. We did hear somebody talking on it, so we know that we got the right frequency. We know that we got it working. Other than that, it's a beautiful day for flying. The PSCU, the MEL, if there's any doubt, if we do reject the takeoff, if there's any doubt that the aircraft is decelerating, I will immediately apply max manual braking. And we will, of course, use max manual reverse as well for any rejected takeoff because it is a relatively short runway. Flaps 3 is a bit of a threat just because it's unusual. Hopefully the fact I've said it will kind of get it out there, but I'll try to look at the iPad one more time to make sure that we do have the right flap setting. And that's all I've got. Any questions?
No questions.
All right, no single engine taxi. And we'll consider the briefings done. And I think we're ready to get out of here. So I got the beacon on, which triggers GSX to start bringing these guys in. You can see them there in the corner, getting ready to put the pin in.
Hello, Captain. We're ready for pushback.
All right, and GSX doesn't keep the passengers in there, but that's fine. We'll close the door. Regardless, it's still another neat animation that they get into the airplane and they actually find seats. Now, if they just would try to shove their carry-on bags into the overhead bin and fight over it, and find there's not enough room in the overhead bin for everybody, then that would be the ultimate realism.
Departure check completed. Bypass pin inserted.
Before start checklist.
Parking brake.
Set.
Takeoff speeds and thrust.
V1 132, VR 133, V2 137, flexing 57 degrees.
V1 144, VR 142, V2 149, flex temp 59 degrees. Windows.
Closed.
Beacon.
On.
Before start checklist completed.
All right. And she triggered me, to, of course, because I always forget because it doesn't load directly. So she's not going to do anything properly if I don't do this. So config 3, reduce thrust, yes. Takeoff runways 19. Speeds are 132, 133, 137, 132, 133, 137. Flex is 57. Thrust reduction 1500, that's fine. 28% is good. Cruise altitude is 36,000. All right, now that's all set. And we're going to do a quick edit pushback because it's kind of a tight alley here, so I want to kind of make sure that they're pushing us back to a reasonable spot here. Although, actually, it's not terrible. We'll go to spot 2.
Release parking brakes.
All right, we got everything done. The beacon's on. We got fuel. Let's go ahead and release the brakes.
Release parking brakes. All engines clear.
Brakes are off, ready for pushback. Delaying and start till advised. And here we go. Starting engine 2.
Okay.
They're definitely a little slower to start than the CFMs. All right, there's almost 25%. That's where the fuel gets added. Ignition and fuel both come on at 25%, 26%? 25%. There it is, yep. The fuel, we got ignition. EGT starting to increase now. Here comes the N1. There's a guy just floating there in the middle of the middle of nowhere.
Set parking brakes.
Well done, Microsoft, well done. All right.
Unlocking
Brakes
gear.
are set. Confirm the pins are moved. There's the power transfer. You hear the big clunk. And in reality, like, the Fenix is so much quieter than a lot of the airplanes, almost all of the airplanes. It's not like a... We renamed it from the starting engine 1.
Okay.
We renamed it from the power transfer to the power upheaval because there's nothing smooth or slick about the transfer. It's a complete upheaval in some airplanes. In some airplanes, you actually end up getting faults and errors every time the power transfers because the transfer is so abrupt and the power drops off for like a second or 2 seconds and all the computers give up and say, nope, no power. Can't figure anything out anymore. And they stop talking to each other and stop playing nice, and it's just, oh. Fenix tends to simulate like the idealized, like the way Airbus would like it to go, but not the way airplanes that have been on the line for any length of time actually run. All right, the valve is closed. The valve closes early too. I never noticed that, but the valve closes really early on the IE engines. About 45% that valve is closed. Here's the other power upheaval. All right. Looks like we got 2 good starts. After start checklist.
Anti-ice.
Off. Off.
ECAM status.
Brake system 1 fault as expected. Checked.
Pitch trim.
Set and checked.
Rudder trim.
Neutral.
After start checklist completed.
Clear left side.
Steer right side.
So it's pretty straightforward here in DCA. We're here at spot 2. We're going to go straight ahead. Kilo 2, Juliet, cross runway 15 to get to runway 19. Very straightforward. Let's make the turn onto Juliet, then we'll do the flight control check. Brake check.
Pressure 0.
Washington National Traffic. JetBlue 1579 is taxiing for departure runway 19 via Juliet, crossing 15. Flight control check.
Ready. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral.
Clear left side. Clear on the left.
Steer right side. Steer right side.
One thing I'll say about Derzueki too is they did a great job of kind of capturing this wall of buildings that's just on the west side of DCA here. Right behind DCA, there's a subway line. There's a set of train tracks, and on the other side of that, there's this huge kind of built-up area. And they did a really good job of capturing that. I really kind of like it. You feel like there is like this huge wall of buildings over there. Taxi checklist.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Checked. Flap setting.
Flaps 3. Config 3. Config 3.
Config 3. Radar and predictive wind shear system.
On and auto. On and auto.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
ECAM memo.
Just waiting on the cabin. Short taxi out, not surprising. All right, we'll just sit here for a minute and wait. They're going to call us in a minute here, tell us they're ready, but yeah. The Pentagon's right behind the trees there, but yeah, you just see this. I forget what this area is called now. I've flown to DCA multiple times, and there's hotels back there. I've stayed in the hotels back there, but I can't think what this neighborhood is called. It's a very kind of it's a bit of an odd neighborhood. It feels very artificial. There they are. Flight deck, Rob speaking.
Hi, Captain. The cabin is now secure for takeoff.
Thank you. Takeoff, no blue.
Taxi checklist completed.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board our flight today. This is the lead flight attendant.
All right, I don't see anybody coming down the river.
Direct your attention
So,
to the cabin
Washington National Traffic, JetBlue 1579, take position for runway 19 departure, straight out on the Amy departure.
Regulations require compliance with this information as well as all crew instructions, lighted information signs, and posted.
Runway entry procedure.
Takeoff runway confirmed. Approach path clear of traffic. Cabin crew be seated for takeoff.
Lift the metal flap on the buckle. It is our policy that you keep your seatbelt fastened at all times while seated. Doors are clearly marked with exit signs and instructions for door operation.
Lineup checklist.
Takeoff runway.
19 confirmed.
Runway 19 confirmed. TCAS.
TARA. TARA.
Packs 1 and 2.
On.
Lineup checklist completed.
Takeoff.
Check.
Oxygen will be flowing to the mask even though the bag may not inflate. Cover your nose and mouth with the mask. Place the elastic band.
Manflex 57, SRS, auto thrust blue.
Checked. Thrust set.
Your own mask before assisting others. Your seat bottom cushion may be used as a flotation device. Pull up and remove the cushion. Upon exiting the aircraft, place
100
your arms
knots.
around the
Roger.
and hold on to the strap located on the back. This is a non-smoking flight. Smoking is not permitted in the cabin or
V1
laboratory.
rotate.
Cabin lights will now be turned off. Leading light buttons are located above your seat. Thank
Positive
you for
climb.
your attention.
Gear up.
Gear up.
Nav. Autopilot 1. Climb, alt blue. Thrust climb, auto thrust. Flaps 1.
Speed checked. Flaps 1.
Flaps 0.
Speed checked. Flaps 0.
Alright, so we made it airborne here. We're just passing Finby. We did make the 1,500 foot restriction. We're under 230 knots. That's fine now. We passed that one, so we can go ahead and manage speed. That'll accelerate us to 250. And the next restriction is 5,000 or above at, not at McNabb, not at Captain Nab there, but to Amy. And we're going to hit that 5,000 above in the next 10 seconds here, so not too worried about that one. There is the 5,000 feet, 4,300 descending 5,000, or climbing 5,000, but now we're going to go up to 360 since there's no ATC online to give us any kind of clearance. Flight level 360 is set. Roger 360. And we're airborne, everybody, on our way to Fort Lauderdale. That was a relatively smooth departure. I kind of liked it. Did we get airborne on time? I think we did get off the gate on time. I honestly didn't look. We were scheduled to depart the gate at past, and we're supposed to get in at, let's see here, 17:17, I think, is the Zulu arrival time. Just trying to think here. what I wrote down there. So 17:17 is the scheduled arrival time. We're showing 16:43 for landing. So we're showing way ahead of schedule for the arrival into Fort Lauderdale. So that's great. Great for the passengers. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. This is one of the funniest hobbies. It's like, oh, I finished the flight early. I did a good job. I'm going to stop playing my game soon. And it's one of those funny things where, like, it's a hobby where you try to spend as little time as possible doing the hobby. And it's not that you try to spend as little time as possible doing it, but the mark of a job well done is you get there early. You do it faster than you're supposed to. And I find that amusing. And then you land, you go to the gate, you shut down, and you go do something else. Here's Andrews Air Force Base over there. All right, and away we go southbound to Florida. So it's pretty nice up here. There is a chance of some thunderstorms in Florida, so we're almost at 10,000. We'll get 10,000, then we'll really kind of just step back and have a look at some things. That was probably one of the most silent takeoffs I've done. I'm starting to just more and more project that sterile cockpit into the simulation here. And I was also worried today, and I didn't even mention this, but FS2 crew was kind of giving me a few hiccups at the start of the sim here. There's 10,000 climbing flight level 360. So at the start of the session, FS2 crew was giving some hiccups. She wouldn't start. It would not start properly. Now it seems to have fixed itself, and it seems to be working just fine. In fact, probably one of the best performances of FS2 crew so far. Yeah, so there's 10,000 climbing in flight level 360. Let's just make sure lights are off. We can definitely take the seatbelts off. No worries about that. She's a nice day out there. We might put them on later. Let's get them airports up there. RadNav is nothing to detune. Secondary will recopy the active and prog page. Again, we're going up to 36. It says the optimal's at 35. Max at 38.1. So we could make 38, but it should be tight. So let's go with 36 for now, and we'll take it from there. We've got guard up on number 2. The radio's up. Cabin is pressurizing 3.9 diff. Cabin altitude's climbing through 2100. And the fuel, we have burned 760 kilos. So we started with the 88, 89. That all adds up. Good to go. And away we go again, southbound to Florida. So yeah, I was a little bit concerned, and I can't show it here, can I? No, I can't. Of course not, because why would I show it here? I got to pull it up on the external ones. That's okay. Probably the sim probably couldn't handle the overlay anyways of weather. So do it in the browser here. And there is a little bit of weather in Florida here, more in the Orlando, but actually, funny enough, aimed right at Melbourne Beach, our alternate. That being said, I'm not overly concerned. We could easily change our alternate from Fort Lauderdale to like Miami. Miami is, whatever, 20 miles away from Fort Lauderdale as opposed to the 100-something miles Melbourne Beach is. So it definitely could divert pretty easily. Looks like there was a little something here. Let's go ahead and just. And actually, oh, sorry, the flow is actually westerly. Often, it's usually outbound from Florida, but looks like it's actually moving west. So it's moving from Melbourne Beach towards Orlando, which is actually good. I see a few little rain showers here. There's a cell here near Plump. There's definitely some build stuff in this area, but nothing like terribly. I just wonder if I can remove the fixes maybe to make it a little bit clearer. Oh, that's base maps layer. That's fixes. There we go. That makes it a little bit nicer. What if I remove the airspace as well? No, that's airport map. Airspace. There we go. There we go. That's nice now. So there is a little bit of stuff building over central Florida. There are a few little rain showers here. I don't anticipate it's going to be a problem, but Florida, you'd never know. Like, it can build up so fast that it's nice 1 minute and then it's terrible the next. So, yeah, it's good to have a little bit of extra fuel for that anyways. And especially with the auto brake malfunction. And then, now did you guys see that? Because, like, I actually failed this. Like, we saw this. We have the failure here, right? We have brake system 1 fault. But all the lights worked anyways, which is, according to the MEL, is not supposed to happen. Now, that being said, there are multiple reasons. Possibly Fenix made an error in the implementation. That's always possible. The other possibility, of course, is that Airbus, the Airbus fleet is such a diverse fleet. It's almost mind-blowing sometimes how diverse the Airbus fleet is. This airplane, the A320, has now been in production for 30 years. going on almost 35 years. There's transition, standard.
Cross-check. Passing flight level 180. Now.
Perfect, thank you. What was I going to say? Yeah, like the Airbus has been in production for 35 years now. And now, mind you, it has sort of advanced and iterated from the Airbus CEO to the Airbus Neo. But it's still the same basic airplane. Very little has actually changed from the Neo to the CEO. They've changed they've changed the engines themselves, and they've done lots of little tiny tweaks around the side. But overall, it's not even a big evolution of the airplane. It's just the engine change, I think, is really the single biggest change with the Neos. There are different changes, but there are tons of changes that have been implemented over time. So take these screens, for example. The original screens in the Airbus were CRT screens, cathode ray tubes, like little mini TVs that were in front of each pilot. And because they were, they were not HD TVs, these were, these were relatively low resolution tube-based TV screens. So the data was being presented was the same, but it was a lot lower resolution. And most of the airplanes I fly still have these old screens. They don't have these newer LCD screens. They're mostly the CRT screens, so it's a lower resolution. But it's the same information in the same places. It's just provided in a slightly crisper, cleaner, more modern format on the LCD, but it's the same basic information. They changed the underlying technology without changing the way people interface with it, so that the same pilots can continue to do the job. And then you start to talk options, and like there's thousands upon thousands of options that Airbus has offered their customers over the years, whether it be the extra wheels. So there was a limited option that one airline wanted that had four-wheeled main bogies. So instead of having two wheels on each main landing gear, there were four wheels on each main landing gear in a quad pattern for one particular airline that operated some very unimproved airports that need to spread the weight over a larger area. So Airbus offered that. So I'm not sure if it's on here or not, but yeah, you've got these brake fan circuit breakers on a lot of Airbuses, even the ones that weren't offered. For a long time, they were making this circuit breaker panel, and right underneath here, there were brake fans for wheels 5, 6, 7, and 8. So there was an additional 2 circuit breakers here for wheel fans for brakes 6, 7, and 8, and 5, 6, 7, and 8 for the for the 8-wheel model. So you look around the flight deck and you see lots of different options, lots of different things like this. This camera up here was optional. They started adding that I think sometime in the late 90s. There's been so many changes and iterations over the years, but the same basic airplane, the core of the airplane, the core of the way it functions basically remains the same. It's lots of little details, but it's the details that get you too. And that's one of the things I find most interesting, intriguing, and yet frustrating about the Airbus fleet is that it is one of the most diverse fleets I've ever tackled. Most of the other fleets I've ever flown have been very consistent from one aircraft to the next, and like the differences were incredibly minor. Generally things like, oh, this one does have an HF radio versus that one doesn't. This one does have the surveillance camera, this one doesn't. That kind of like minor difference. But then you get to an Airbus fleet, and our Airbus fleet in particular is so diverse. It's insane how many different places the Airbuses came from. Some were direct orders from the manufacturer. Some have been, some were purchased from other airlines over the years. There's new ones arriving from other airlines now, and even, you consider like the 319, the 320, and the 321. If you operate a fleet that has all three, in the flight deck, they look almost exactly the same. The only way you can really tell the difference in the flight deck between the 319, the 320, and 321, there's a couple ways. You can look at the limit speed placard, because in the 321, the limit speeds went up. You can look at the limit speed in the placards. You can look at the doors page, and how many doors do you have? So in the 320, this is the 320, we obviously have the 2 front doors, 2 back doors, and then we have 4 windows over, 4 emergency exit slide windows over the wings. In the 319, there's only a pair of slide windows over the wings. There's just 1 row of slide windows over the wings. And then you get the 321, and they're not slide windows anymore. They are 4 completely independent doors on each side of the airplane. That's basically one of the only other ways you can tell, and maybe how much fuel you have in the tanks might be the other thing. But otherwise, I guess the other thing too is over time the center tank feeding method changed as well. So instead of having pumps, they changed to valves in the 321 originally, and now they're backdating it to all the 320. So when the 320 that gets produced from here on out also has the same thing, where and so the diagram here and the labeling on this fuel panel also changes, because now in the 321, it's no longer a separate inner, outer, and center tank. They merge the outer and the inner tanks on the wings into one big tank on the 321, but then the center tank doesn't directly feed to the engines using fuel pumps. They took the fuel pumps out, and now instead there's just transfer valves that transfer from the center tank pump to the wing tanks, from the center tank to the wing tanks. The panel looks the same. It's still got the auto manual mode selector in the middle, but then these two pump switches, they're the same switches, but now they're relabeled as transfer valves. So you can determine whether you want to allow the transfer valves to automatically or manually open or not. But they no longer feed, the center tank no longer directly feeds the engine, it just simply refills the wing tanks. These are the kind of things that kind of can tell you the difference between the 319, 320, 321, but in the flight deck, basically 98% of it is exactly the same between those airplanes. So in terms of operating it, you operate it nearly the same. You have to think more in the 321 just because it's a big, heavy airplane that takes a long time to slow down. You have to be ready for it to slow down. Especially if you're anything close to full, you've got to be ready. I can't wait to fly the 321 the sim, because it's crazy some of the speeds you start getting into as well. You look at the takeoff speeds in the 321, especially the minimum clean speed. So the green dot speed, you can't even see it on here, but let's see here. The green dot speed, I can find it on the approach page here, but the green dot speed, the minimum clean speed at our current weight, 216 knots. When you get to the 321 and you get into a 321 that's taking off at gross weight, like with a full load of people in the back and generally full tanks of fuel, so you're talking up to, I believe it's 93 tons, you're getting into that 90-ton range, this minimum clean speed gets pretty much almost up to 250. I've seen 248 as our minimum clean speed in the 321. So and so below 10,000, of course, your maximum speed is 250. So your minimum speed is 248, your maximum is 250. Like, you got almost no speed range. You're really flying that thing almost like a heavy, where you're just hanging it on the edge of the minimum clean speed until you get above 10,000 and actually start to accelerate to a safe speed. But it's just crazy diversity in the 319, 320, 321 fleet. I've never operated such a diverse fleet with so many airplanes with so many different options, so many different weights. Even the engines changed when they started selling the 321. They went to a slightly bigger engine. So on the CFM versions, it's the CFM 56. It's the 5 series engines were the ones that were put on the Airbus. So they started with the 5 Alpha engines, which were put on the original 320 and also are on the 319. Then when they built the 321, they said we actually need a more powerful engine. So they came up with a slightly bigger, slightly more powerful version that they called the CFM 56-5 Bravo engines. That's what goes on the 321s. And some of the 320s eventually, after they started making this engine, they started putting on the 320s to get some of the 320s better performance. Didn't necessarily need it, but it gave it better performance, shorter takeoff runs, faster climbs, faster cruise, etc., etc. Of course, burns a little bit more gas to do it. But yeah, the changes just across the fleet, like it blows me away. I've never had such a hard time keeping track of all the different limitations in the fleet, because the different engines will have different limitations. The CFM 56-5 Bravos can get a little warmer than the 5 Alphas. They have a higher max temperature at takeoff power than the 5 Alphas. So you've got to keep track of these things. You've got to know which ones am I flying, what's the temperature limit for today. And it's so much to keep track of. All right, how you doing here? $16.43, and what are we at right now? We're at $14.56. So we got less than 2 hours to go. It's going to be a pretty quick flight overall. We're going to be early to the gate. The air passengers are going to be happy. They're going to be on the beach kicking back. Everyone's going to be happy. That is a colorful, colorful airplane, that's for sure. Although I do love when you do see the dirt strips on it, because that tells me it's a realistic airplane. Sometimes in the sim, the stuff ends up being so sterile, and you get these little little streams of grease and everything flowing back down the backside of the airplane. That makes me believe it's a real airplane, actually doing hard work, because these things are dirty. Look at the inside of the engine intakes too, like that. That is a realistic looking engine intake just because it's dirty. These airplanes do not stay clean for very long at all. The only thing that's missing from the sim usually is the chipping paint. The paint is never chipped, and that's not the case on a real airplane. These things get damaged, they hit stuff, not even big stuff, but you just pebbles or whatnot might get kicked up, or small birds, insects, who knows what, flying through the air. You'll hit stuff eventually. And so there's dents right across these airplanes, ridiculous amounts of dents. And then, of course, these paint jobs, especially if they're not done well, you get a little tiny chip in it, and then you start blowing it. Imagine, like, you get a chip in your car, and then you stand there, and you blew it with a hairdryer for hours on end. Of course, that chip eventually is going to peel away more paint and develop into a bigger chip. It's inevitable. So the other thing too is that these airplanes almost always have such perfect external paint. It may be a little bit dirty, but these guys don't ever want to model chips on their paint jobs, and I don't blame them, because it's a nice paint job. It's almost a shame to ruin it by having a chip or something on it. It would be a shame to ruin one of those nice paint jobs, but yeah, these things wear out. A lot of these switches in here wear out quite easily, quite frequently, especially stuff like the altitude knob, altimeter knobs. The parking brake is another one that gets worn pretty well, pretty quickly. This one looks pretty perfect and new, but in the real world, they don't stay new for long. These things put in, hundreds of hours of flying a month. And so they get exposed to all sorts of weather. They get exposed to rain and snow and sleet and hail and freezing and baking and, fog of all kinds, whether it be sand or grit or dirt, stones, pebbles. It could be a pebble that was just blown by the airplane ahead while you were taxiing. They gave it a little bit of power, kicked up a little pebble, hit your airplane right square in the, there's 35-2 climbing 36. Right square in the middle of the nose, and chip the paint on your radome or something, and then and imagine just like flying through the air, like even in the real world, we tend to get very isolated from the fact of how fast we're moving in these airplanes.
Please refer to the menu given to you on boarding for the 2 meal choices and your beverage choices available. We request that you keep the aisles clear to assist the flight attendants.
Really? Mach Alt Star. Thanks, Microsoft. But you forget how fast you're moving. We're doing 468 knots. That is almost 8 miles a minute, which is that's like a mile about every 8 seconds. Mach Alt cruise. So 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000, 7 1,000, 8 1,000. We just went a mile. Like, you lose all sense of scale when you're up here. We've made the experience so comfortable. You got the whooshing of the air. You kind of know something's happening, but you're just not aware of how fast the thing's moving through the air. But just imagine how fast that air is blasting on the outside of this airplane. And you get little paint chips, any little chip, any little peeling, anything. And imagine how much air is just blowing on there constantly for hours at a time at that velocity. It's amazing this paint stays on there at all sometimes. All right, so this Mach Alt cruise nav. So let's just have a quick little cruise procedure before we do anything else here. No other lighted switches on. All my switches that I've moved are in the positions they should be in. I'm happy with everything here. Oh, what I didn't do is I didn't switch to Unicom. That's what I didn't do. All right, there we go. All right, so let's just have a quick look at all these pages here. Make sure the values are all stable. even, more or less. Everything should be kind of even between the left and the right side of the airplane, more or less. The only thing that's not even is the green system. All this fluid went into the landing gear retraction. When you extend the landing gear again, all that fluid gets put back in the reservoir. All right, just a quick fuel check. 1900. Use 6960, so that's 89. Yeah, 89. Yeah, it's pretty close. Yep, that all looks good. Fuel all adds up. RVSM check 36,000, 36,000, and 36,000. First flight of the day. We've also got to check the compass as well. All we're in cruise, not accelerating, not climbing, descending, but level. Let's see, we got about 195-ish. It's pretty much bang on 195. All right, good stuff. We'll get to a little fuel altitude check at ears, and then we're good to go. All right, so let me just have a little look-see over here. Let me pull open a new browser window. For the big news that has came out last week, and let's talk about it. And I think it's going to outshine even FS Expo as the news story of the month in the flight sim world, anyways. And I think most of you guys who are watching probably know what I'm talking about. If you don't, well, you're about to find out. I'm just kind of waiting for a second here because we're going to pass ears in like 3 minutes, and I just want to have like just a chance to talk about it nonstop. So, yeah, let's pull this up and let's just be ready here. So we just need the flight log, ears. Let's change it to blue because it's just easier to read that way. And then when we get to ears, we'll do a quick fuel check, and then we'll start our next conversation topic. But yeah, it just blows me away. All right, here's the message from company. So let's just see what they say here. Do they want a delay code? Because I don't think they need a delay code. I think we left on time. I wasn't even watching the clock, in all honesty. Receive message. No ADC required. No delay code, airport delay code required. Perfect. So we did leave on time then. No delay code. We did leave on time, and this is the way you want your pilots too. Is like you want your pilots to be focused on their job and not focused on the on-time performance, because the on-time performance is generally not a pilot problem, and as long as you give the pilots an airplane in sufficient time, then it very rarely do the pilots cause any delays. It's usually everything else around the outside, the periphery of it, that causes the delays. Whether it be most often it's an aircraft late arriving, or at least it's not on the gate on time. The crew can't get onto it in time. There's other problems, but probably the number one reason why airline flights are late is because the previous flight for some reason got delayed, and so they are late. It's late arriving at the gate, and there's not enough time. Because it takes a lot of time to do this. As you guys have seen, it takes minimum 30 minutes every single time you want to turn an airplane around. And that's absolute minimum. That's the minimum time the pilots need in the flight deck. You know, when you think of an airplane arriving at the gate, too, the new crew doesn't get on right away. You got to offload the other passengers. They often have to groom it. So and if it's international or anything, it might have to be isolated until everybody's off to make sure that there's no mixing. So it can take a while. It could take 15, 20 minutes after arrival for the next airplane. So even in the 320 fleet, I find that planning anything less than 45 minutes is just hoping for miracles. And 321s are just like clown cars. They just keep going forever. You just can't believe how many people fit inside a 321. All right, 1506. And fuel in the tank's 6.8. All right, so 32 minutes into our flight. A little bit late, I think. There's only supposed to be 26 minutes at ears. So we lost a little bit of time there, but we're up 100 kilos on the gas, so that's a good start. All right, let me just fill out the rest of this, and then we'll talk about the big news. $15.29. Maybe with any luck we'll get some ATC in Florida for the arrival, but I'm not really betting on it. 4. There's a lot of oops, 26. A lot of fixes on this arrival here. $16.35. All right, that's even earlier, but anyways, we'll see how that plays out as we go here. We do have a fair bit of extra gas in the tanks here. We're looking at 45 minutes of extra gas, so shouldn't be too much of a problem. All right, so what was the big news from last week? Well, I think you guys have probably already all seen this, but there it is nevertheless. PMDG has announced a release date for their 777-300ER, the first PMDG 777 to join us in the sim. It's the 777-300ER, and it's going to be June 25th, as the headline there alludes to. Thank you, FS Elite. You've always got good headlines, and you're a great news source, so I do enjoy using the FS Elite. But it's about time. It is about time we got a highly detailed long hauler in the sim. There's been a bunch of them from default aircraft and some lesser long haulers, but we're finally going to get like a really serious, high quality long hauler in the sim that's going to give us a good 16, 18 hour range if we really want it, which I don't even know why we want to sit in the sim that long, but anyways, and she looks absolutely beautiful. The screenshots that were posted in the PMDG forum just look absolutely phenomenal. They're right up to the PMDG standards. I mean, we'll have to see what it flies like and how it performs, but it seems like everything is right up there. You've got the full-on EFB there, the tablet as well, and apparently, like again, lots of new upgrades and features from previous iterations. One of the big ones I think people will be happy about is that Hoppy is now going to be integrated into the flight deck. So if you're a user of the Hoppy ACARS network, that's going to be baked right into the PMDG 777. You'll be able to use that, and it is something that has been sort of growing and building and for a little while now, and Hoppy's been around for a while, but it really has kind of come back into its own as CPDLC has really kind of taken over, and more people start supporting it. And it's one of those things too, like Hoppy, I started playing with it like 5 years ago, and almost nobody was using it at the time, or so it seemed anyway. So I was, as a controller, I started using it, and then I very quickly just stopped because nobody was using it as well. And now we've really kind of come back again, and it's becoming quite popular now. A lot of people don't expect it in North American controllers, but it is become more popular again. The typical SimBrief integration, apparently better nav data and lateral pathing. So this has been a perpetual problem for PMDG, and it's not an unreasonable problem. Like when you start to think about all the permutations and possibilities of different leg types and leg type interfaces and sequences, and trying to draw these paths, these 3D paths through space, it has to be an incredibly complicated problem, and you need a pretty powerful computer just to solve these problems. So you can forgive some of these developers for sometimes not quite fully being able to develop these things because they're incredibly complicated problems. You got to cover so many different possibilities. You know, if you just look at like 2 or 3 particular routes between certain airports, and you fly those over and over again, you say, yep, all the pathing on here is great, but the number of, different approaches and star transitions and things like that is just constantly increasing, and trying to make sure all these things play nicely and write an algorithm that correctly calculates all these things, it's just incredibly challenging. So kudos on them for implementing the improved version. Hopefully we'll see what everyone starts to say about it. Of course, just standard failures. They also said that they were very happy with the fuel burn, that in the MSFS world, with all the data available about the atmosphere you're flying through, they landed at a number within 0.3% of the planned fuel burn. So accurate to within 0.3%. I'd say that's a very reasonably accurate fuel burn. In most cases, most airline operations will not land with that amount of accuracy because of just individual daily variations from the expected plan, whether it be a little extra long vector or diversion, little diversion off course for traffic, whatever. Most airlines will not even land within that. So that's a very, very precise fuel burn. So that's good to see. Fully detailed cabin that you can actually walk back into. Apparently the cockpit door opens and you can actually change it now. You've got the new advanced cabins with the LED lighting and everything. All cabin features, door arming, etc., all that kind of stuff. Yeah, really something finally really to look forward to. Pricing still not published, but you got to assume it's going to be something on par with the existing 37 fleet. So probably for the initial one, it's probably going to be $60 or $70 US for the initial one. But as with the 37, all the individual variants are going to be published separately. So starting with the 777-300ER, then the 777 Freighter, then the 777-200ER, then the 777-200LR. All as their own packages. So 4 different packages, much like the 737 line. 4 different packages available. Buy the ones you want, don't buy the ones you don't want. I kind of like that pricing package, or that pricing model. Lets you kind of pick and choose, and it gives people the chance. It sets the bar to entry a little lower, and I kind of like that. I think Rendazzo even made that argument. I kind of like it that for those people who do have a fixed budget, want to participate in this hobby but have a fixed budget, even $70 US, that's a lot to spend on one particular airplane. Now mind you, I think with the 777 you'll get a lot of hours of enjoyment out of it, but that's still nevertheless a lot of money. So having some cheaper options if people are willing to wait, especially. If I could type today, then that would be easier. So just by way of comparison, let's just look at the the 737 series, and they are having a little sale right now there. Looks like $5 off some of the more expensive 37s. But anyways, yeah, the more expensive 37s, $70 US. And then if that's too much, if that's a bank breaker for you, then we have the $50 900. We have the least popular version, the 600, at only $35. So if you're not sure if you want to get into PMDG, this could be a good entryway for you, is to go with the cheaper ones. I kind of like that as like we're gonna offer some of the less popular models maybe at a cheaper cost, and give people who maybe don't have, because the 37s mostly all fly the same anyways. Once you sit in the flight deck, much like the Airbus, doesn't matter which model you have, they all look the same in the Airbus, they all look the same in the flight deck, they all more or less fly the same. So if you want to if you want to get into this and try it out without spending a whole lot of money, then you have an entry-level airplane. So I do kind of like that reasoning of giving everyone, like, if you wanted to and you have the money, you can buy the whole foursome, and that's going to set you back a lot of money there. Obviously, $140, $180, $210 for the whole kit and caboodle, if that's your thing. But if you want it, then it's there, it's available to you. But I do like that they're setting the bar for entry a little bit lower. Rather than lumping a whole bunch of models together, here's one model for cheaper, and you can choose to combine more of them. The only thing I kind of wish with that model is that maybe there was a little bit of a multi-purchase package discount. So if you own one, here's $5 off your next one. Here's $5 off the third and fourth one if you've already bought one. Just a little incentive to thank you people for doing that. But I mean, that's one thing PMDG has started to change now, is they are having sales. For the longest time, PMDG never had a sale. For like 10 years, 20 years, they never had a sale. Everything was always full price. If you want it, this is the price. You pay it or no. And even they seem to have seen the wisdom of periodically, maybe not right off the bat, but periodically offering sales discounts. Let some of their less fortunate customers still in. And then in this world, there are lots of people who are struggling to make ends meet. So giving people a chance, a discount, is a great idea. The other big question, of course, with the 777 is how much will this overshadow FS Expo now? I imagine PMDG is going to have a booth at FS Expo. How much is that going to be overshadowing the whole thing? They're going to have like a wall of people a mile deep, or will they not? Because everyone knows it's coming out next week. I don't need to go see it at the PMDG booth. I'm going to have it on my computer next week. I'm going to go see some other stuff that I haven't seen. I wonder, I wonder which end of the spectrum more people are going to play on. Is it more the I want to see it now because I can't wait to get it next week, or I can get it next week? I'm going to go look at some other stuff that I'm not going to be able to see next week on my own computer. I almost think more the second. People know it's coming, and it's such a relief to know it's coming that yeah, they'll get out there. But it's funny too, and I saw a couple of people made the comments that like over the next week or so, the streamers are going to be the content creators are going to get early access to this to start, showing it off in the live stream and everything. But the irony is that a lot of them are not going to have their computers because a lot of them are going to be at or on their way to FS Expo, and so all these people are going to have access to it and supposedly be trying to make videos and everything, but they're going to be out of town for quite a few days. So maybe that was not the best timing in the world, but whatever. Let's get it out there. Let's get it in front of the population. Let's let them see it because it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be so nice to have a good quality long hauler in the sim. All right. What else was I going to talk about? There was a couple of things I had. Of course, I can go back to FS Elite because FS Elite is my news source. I like them because they write some pretty good articles. Sometimes they're a little slow on a few things here and there, and it's nobody's primary job. So I don't necessarily complain about that per se, but sometimes it is a little slow to get some stuff out there. But Flightbeam released their San Francisco Captain's Edition finally, which that's been in development for years now. But by the looks of it, worth every minute of waiting just to see some of the screenshots here. It's absolutely phenomenal. Look at the way the sun captures those solar panels there. That's just a beautiful reflection there. And this is an airport that looks, again, used. I hate to say dirty, but it does look a little bit dirty, but that's what happens. These buildings are out there in the elements. They're getting used every day by people. They get beat up. They get worn out. They get dirty. And you see so many airports, and you could almost eat off the ramp. It's so clean, and that's not the case in real life. So, like, if you go back to this picture again, look at the textures on the ramp here. You've got evidence of old paint that's been removed. You've got dirty spots and clean spots. You've got the uneven end of the concrete pads there. Again, stuff that's been hashed out, and now the paint's been removed. Like, that just speaks to this has been here for a while and it's done stuff, as opposed to some of these things are so clean and so idealized, and the real world is definitely not ideal by any means. Some of this stuff is pretty clean looking, but then look at this thing. This thing has moved in and out 10,000 times as different flights have come and gone, and so things have scraped in the jet bridge over time. So you see these scrape marks, you see these spots of rust. Look at these carts. They all have the same kind of dirt on them. They're all the same. Do they all have the same cart number on them? Yeah, they do. They're all CC504487. They're all the same cart number. But like, again, just put some dirt on there, and it just speaks to this has been a real place. It's seen real work and real time. Seagulls. I like it. It's cute. But that's the thing. When you start to get these dirty textures, that's when you start to believe these things are real. Like, look at the dirt and oil that's stripped from engines over and over again in the spots. Like, you see that on these ramps, these spots where the engines sit. They get really, really dirty, even back and forth where the wheels go. The weathering on these is just fantastic. That really, because like, you're so up close to these, you're taxing right across these spots here. That makes it look like the real deal. I think that's the last one. But that looks like it's going to be a fantastic product. 16 pounds. $28. It's not an unreasonable price for that quality. Some other developers are charging similar amounts for things that are not that high quality. So that's not a bad price for that high quality. I'm okay with that. I will probably pick that up at some point. I'm saving my money right now for the 777. The 777 is top of my priority list. And I do have some money saved away in my PayPal account, so I'll have to shell out some money for it off my credit card, but I think I probably have about half it still covered by my PayPal, which is not bad. So thank you, everyone who has supported me, because that PayPal account basically is the money that comes in from my Twitch. So thank you guys to everyone who has supported me, because you're just supporting me having fun in this stupid hobby. But I try to provide something useful with my to my viewers, and I hope I do. I hope I do over time. There wasn't a whole lot else. I think next week is going to be an interesting week because next week is FS Expo, and then we're going to get a lot of kind of release announcements and lots of new information, stuff like that. So that's going to be, I think that's going to be interesting after that. And of course, we'll have the 777. I won't be able to fly the 777 anytime soon on stream, but I will. I could just fly it on a random stream. I don't have to fly it on a pilot's live stream. I won't be able to fly it because JetBlue does not operate in 777s. I don't work for an operator that operates 777s. But not only that, but I don't have a 777 type rating, nor can I afford one yet, though I am getting there, but it's going to take a while. I have $2,100 in the bank, and it's $4,000 for that 777 type rating. So before I could even worry too much about flying it, aircraft licenses, 777 family, $4,000. So it's going to take me a little while to save up that money. And I did kind of look at it. I looked at it and said, well, how long does it take to save up $2,000 in a pilot's life? Well, let's have a look, shall we? Finance report, entire career, sure, why not? But in general, and it's sort of as time goes on, it gets a little easier because you make more money. But on my recent one here, basically since week 41 of 2023, so the last, so in the last 7 to 8 months, I've made about $2,000 here. You can see I went from almost no money after the last time I bought a type rating to just over $2,000. So I would anticipate it's going to take another 6 to 8 months to raise another $2,000 to get that 777 type rating. So I'm not going to be flying it in a pilot's life anytime soon. But that being said, I will expect to probably garner more money soon because I am getting close to that pay raise. It's not coming yet, but it's getting there. 4,200 points right now. I need 5,000 for my next promotion at an average of 100 points per session. That's only 8 sessions. So, yeah, there's only one more episode after this season. But after that, about halfway through the next season, I expect I will probably get a promotion to senior first officer, which should come with a pay raise. And I'm making a pretty comfortable $52 an hour already. But if you were to increase that to 55, 56, again, every little bit helps. Just slowly accelerates the way you accumulate wealth in this whole thing. So, achievements. I haven't looked at my achievements here for a long time. Supporter, yeah. Hummingbird, yeah. Sparrow. Raven. Ooh, I'm about to hit Raven. 50 flights completed. So I'm going to hit that soon. Commuter, 27 different destinations. Frequent flyer, 100 different destinations. See, I haven't gotten to that many different places. I got to keep working on that. Kangaroo route. First long haul flight greater than 8 hours. For the 777, I might get that. The Ted Stryker Award. Perfect score flight, 100. Dead Meat Award, crash landing rate greater than 500. Well, great, I did that already. The Captain Sully Award, I've also done that one, less than 50. Tupper Harley Award, on-time departure, synced with planned departure. I got that one, nice. And Maverick Award, on-time arrival, synced with the planned arrival. Yeah, one of these flights we did pretty much on time, which is great. Need for speed, taxi out or taxiing with a speed greater than 30 knots. I'm surprised I haven't hit that. I don't try to hit 30 knots, but every once in a while, just if you're looking away and you're doing something else, it might accelerate to above 30 knots. I'm surprised I haven't hit that one yet. That was not a hard one to hit. Climbing the ladder, 5 contracts with 5 different airlines. I'm 3 for 5. Job hopper, 50 different contracts. Piggy bank, first investment, financial independence, no elementary school. First training item purchased. Master's degree, all training items purchased, 10 items. Instructor, all aircraft licenses purchased, not even close. City break, first flight ticket purchased, no. Vacationer, more than 50 flight, party starter, first friend, influencer, 10 friends, rockstar, 100 friends. Whale. I thought it said whole. Whale, $1 million in the bank account, not even close. Probably not going to get there. So I'm not doing bad with these achievements, and I'm going to get another 1 or 2 very soon. But yeah, I don't have much in the inventory. I just have a couple things I purchased. Just situation awareness. Each one of these just gets me a 0.25% bonus, but that's okay. That helps. That's helped build this up a little bit faster. And yeah, just trying to think what else. Oh yeah, job market. So who else is offering me jobs here? Southwest is trying to lure me in with $54 an hour. Didn't I already work for Southwest? No. Yes. No. Did I? No, I don't think I did. Did I? No, I didn't work for Southwest. Who did I work for or before JetBlue? Did I work for American? Norwegian Air Shuttle 44, but Southwest Airlines. And that would be a great one to work for. You could fly the PMDG 737 around extensively. It's got a huge, huge network. Huge network. I'm surprised they're only offering me 54. I would hope for a little bit more than 54. So long, it's going to crash the system just trying to load it. It's thinking about it. It's thinking about it. Holy moly. It's a lot of data it's downloading from the server, I guess. Come on. Chug, 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 chug. Don't crash on me, please. Well, maybe that was a mistake to click that button. Oh, Lord. There it is. Lot of routes to download in this airline. It's slowly getting there. Chug, 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 chug as that server shoots data my way. Come on. There we go. Now it's generated. Okay, it's loaded all the information. Ooh, got me a little worried there. Fleet size, number of routes. 12,000 routes loaded in the database. No wonder it took so long. 816 aircraft. And lots of good hubs. It would be a fun place to work. Just for the sheer route diversity. Atlanta, Baltimore, Dallas Love, Denver, Houston Hobby, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Orlando, Chicago, Midway, Oakland, Phoenix, St. Louis, and then it runs out of space here. I don't think I can make this any wider, but yeah, a whole number of hubs. And just like, you just look at the number of routes, and again, I kind of discount Hawaii just because like it's so far out there, but it has a hard time even processing this because there's just so many routes. So Southwest is kind of eschewed the typical hub and spoke model. They do have hubs and they do spoke full travel off there, but they also do a lot of direct flying between secondary and tertiary airports. If there's a big enough market for a secondary airport, they'll do it directly. So like you look at these things, and yeah, you've got these hubs, but then you've got other flights that don't necessarily touch all the hubs, and they do have a whole bunch of hubs as well distributed throughout the country. But you know, well, no, Atlanta's a hub, but like Las Vegas, Nashville. San Jose to Phoenix, Albuquerque to Dallas. Well, that's a hub there, but you know, San Diego to San Antonio direct. Like you got all these flights that are not hubs. Like I can't even begin to fathom the route network here. 12,000 different routes loaded into the database. No wonder it took forever to load that, download that whole thing there. I don't even know where Enter Air is. These guys are the opposite end of the spectrum. Super cheap. Don't want to offer me much. It's only going to take a couple seconds to load their network here. What do they got? They got 37s. It's a Polish charter airline with a head office in Warsaw, Poland. So there you go. You can do some European flying with Enter Air. Norwegian Air Shuttle. I wonder where Norwegian Air Shuttle's flights are going to and from. So 737... all up and down. These kind of airlines could also be fun one day. I really should try and break out of my North American mold, but it's just I know it, and that's what I'm trying to do with this whole thing. Pineapple Man 7879, yo. It's been a little bit of time, absolutely, but welcome back to the stream. We are just en route to Florida. We're just talking about what we could do with the pilot's life. Like this is such a fantastic piece of software. You can do so many things with it. There's part of me that is just a little bit almost sad, for lack of a better word, sad that I've committed to doing all these flights on stream, because I could have so much fun doing these flights off stream as well. But I don't want. But it's just I've now got this legacy where every flight that I've done is here on Twitch. It's down in my YouTube channel. Every flight I've done in real time it's all there. So. And who else is there? JPAV8. Welcome, hello. But there's some really neat stuff. The trouble is, like Europe, especially, like to me, it's a place I'm not familiar with, and I wouldn't want to do it on stream because I would not feel comfortable with it. You know, I'm trying to always kind of project a real operation here, and I'd be very much lost there. There's the Aer Lingus is all Airbus fleet, 320s, 330s, so 320s for probably the European travel, and then 330s to kind of hit all these places across the pond, up and down the Northeast U.S., Miami, looks like Orlando probably, Denver, but yeah, not bad. But we'll stick with JetBlue, and the other thing is JetBlue's got some nice liveries. JP. Okay, JP is fine. Yeah. There's part of me that would just love to go sort of off on a little tangent by myself and just fly some of these flights and these different routes and explore these different places. Flight Simulator is truly a great way to explore different parts of the world, not just and practice and learn things you're not familiar with. And I do that. I've done that this month. There's places I'm going that I've never been to before, so I've loaded up the airports in the sim, and I've found payware versions of these airports, good versions of these airports, and I've loaded them up in the sim, and I've said, let's go there once and let's see the layout. Let's see what the terminal building looks like. Let's see what the arrivals and the approaches look like. And even without ATC, even if there isn't VATSIM ATC to support me, just to kind of put your head in the game and kind of actually do it, not just like look at the chart and kind of, you know, read the chart mindlessly, but to actually put yourself in the game and actually go out there and do it. That's kind of that's such a useful tool. And you can see the problems, you can see some mistakes, you can make mistakes freely in the sim that then you learn from in the real world. Using a pilot's life for 1 year awesome application. Yeah, I think this is hands down for the price, probably one of the best little utilities I've ever seen. Just the random flight generator, just the whole logic of it, the gamification of it, but it's got enough realism to it. You've got to make money. You've got to follow your schedule, and you know you got to get a good score too. So I've gotten pretty good at getting a good score, but it's taken time. And I'm pretty proud of myself and impressed with myself that 4 out of the last flights I've gotten 100, but I've done poorly on some of them. I've gotten not poorly, but I've done into the 90s. I think I've even done into the 80s. There was one I just saw one scroll by there that was a 78. I thought. 76. That was not a good day. Portland to DFW. I think that might have been the one that crashed on landing. And I got all sorts of stuff here. Landing rate negative 1.232. And light off beacon. So there's some problems there, some procedural issues there. Max G-force less than 2.5 Gs. This one was the one I think where we landed. We flew from Portland down to DFW, and because of the scenery, and there was like a lip in the runway that I didn't see it until we were rolling down the runway. I'm kind of like, what's that line across the runway? And we hit it, and then the whole airplane just nosed over and stopped like almost instantly. And I was like, what just happened? On stream and everything. So it got an absolutely horrible score there, 76, because of, I think partly at least because of things out of my control. Now, beacon light stuff, that's stuff that's within my control, so I can't complain too much about all of it. But I've gotten better at it over time. So my flying's gotten more precise, more reliable, seriously well into the 90s, a lot of 95s and 98s and 99s and 100s in the last little while. So will I buy the 777? I will. I am going to be there. I may not be on day one, and the only reason I probably won't do it on day one is because I don't want to repeat of the 737 debacle. And I'm hoping the PMDG has scaled up appropriately. June 25th. What day is June 25th? I don't even know what day it is, what day of the week it is, because I may not even be home. So it may not be worth doing it that day. I may not even be able to buy it that day or download it anyways that day. June 25th. June 25th is a Tuesday. Oh, I will be home that day. Maybe I will. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be a day one purchase for sure, and only just because I don't want the hassle of like sitting there and watching it download and then like, oh, the download failed, started again, and that whole thing, which I found with 37. My experience with the 37 purchase the first time around was pretty flawless when they released it. I was very early on there. When it dropped, I was probably in there within the first like 30 minutes of the release. So I was kind of at the leading edge of that wave, and I managed to kind of stay ahead of the leading edge and get it downloaded and installed pretty quickly that day. But I know, and I read through their forums, and lots of people had lots of issues with the two-factor authentication not going through. The transactions were completing, but they weren't registering, and they count very quickly after a little while. It all started to get lagged and behind, and it took a long time for everyone to get downloaded. So I don't want to deal with that on day one. That's the only thing. If PMDG has upped their server game and is ready for it, and apparently they have been expanding their server infrastructure and getting ready to scale it up for the release, I might try it, but I'm not gonna be in a big rush. Only because I don't want to sit there and stare at it and have to restart the download 4 times. If it starts to grind on for any reason, I'm just gonna give up on it. But JP, I agree 100%. Like, this is one of the best ways to generate routes. This route generator that's built into a pilot's life. The guy who created this, it's a bit of a genius. It's a bit of a genius move. It gives you kind of this list of stuff to fly. You're obligated to fly, and that's the way the airlines work. In the airlines, you don't fly. You know, you don't fly whatever. You show up at work like, I want to work today. Let's go. I want to go to Miami today. That's not how it works. You come to work knowing where you're going. This is the mission. Get it done, and that's the way it works. So I kind of like that aspect of it. I do like that you can generate it and then kind of look at it. That kind of to me kind of resembles the bid process. Month by month, you bid for a whole schedule. You'll get something great. You won't get some stuff. You won't get everything you want, but you'll get some good stuff here and there, because that's most of them are some seniority based. Some of them are fair bidding systems, but nobody gets everything they want. So it's kind of interesting like that to regenerate the schedule multiple times and try and find one that's kind of meets your needs. I have made a few suggestions for a couple of tweaks. I think there are a couple things they could do to improve the schedule generation even a little bit more. And I think number one on the list, I think, would be to allow you to specify a list of airports to favor with the schedule. So, pardon me, I know I own payware or even freeware, but I own quality freeware for these airports. I want to only fly. I want to hit up these airports in particular, and then you could put up a list, and then, or you could say 50% of the time I want to be at one of my good airports, payware airports, something like that, and have that be kind of a constraint on the schedule building. I know it's a little bit more difficult to build the schedule, perhaps, but when I'm generating the schedule, like I only try to fly to. When I'm flying on stream, I try to only fly to airports that I have high quality scenery for. I hate the default airports, and they look absolutely terrible on stream. So I always try to make sure. So when I'm generating the schedule, every month, every time I generate a schedule, I'll say I'll limit myself to like 2 new airports. I could purchase 2 new airports that I haven't had before that I can add to the sim. So 8 out of 10 airports that we hit up have to be airports that I already have in my collection. But I still like to see different routes, and I have all sorts of different constraints. The other suggestion I made, and I don't know if it's ever going to be followed, but the other big suggestion I made was that rather than having this category, so I can't show it because I can't generate a schedule right now, but you've got short, medium, and long haul routes are the three levels of routes you can have. So you can limit yourself to only short, or you can do short, medium, or you can do only long haul or whatever. So as a streamer, of course, I don't want to do long haul because long haul is just ridiculous. Anything over 1,500 miles is just ridiculously long to do on stream. So the short haul is fine, but I think the difference from short to medium is like 250 miles. And then a long haul is like 2,000 miles. So some of the medium haul stuff is okay. Some of it, to me, is a little bit too long. So I would rather have like a slider where I could say I want flights between 0 and 1,200 miles or 0 and 1,000 miles, rather than kind of lump them together as short, medium, or long haul. I think that would be a little bit more. I think that would be a little bit more useful. But, I mean, these are minor tweaks. Overall, the whole system works really well. The whole job market, I find, is quite balanced. Like, you really do have to work to earn your money. You do have to do a lot of flights to earn your money, to earn enough money to buy the 777 type rating. I was saying this, I think, before you tuned in, and I only have $2,000 in my bank account. I need another $2,000. That's going to be another 2 or 3 dozen flights easily in order to get enough money in my bank account to buy the 777 type rating. So it's motivation. You got to keep flying, and you got to keep working to get that money. I really like it. Currently flying for Stobart Air. It's not good. Only 2 routes. EGAC to EGLL and back again. I'll be changed tomorrow. Yeah, but and the funny thing is that when you start out, that's how it is in the real world. You fly lousy routes. You fly the same small route over and over again because your airline only serves a handful of routes. I love that progression too. Like, it's really hard to get into these big 5-star airlines that go to all these really fancy places. You start out, and you're starting out at the regional level. You're starting out at Eric Air, or Astral Aviation, or any of these 1-star airlines. I'm going to go find Stobart now. But that's real world progression, really. You start out, you're one of those 6 out of 15 pilots that work at Stobart Air. But that's the way it is in the real world. You start working out at the small carriers, just flying maybe a CRJ. They've got one A320. There you go. One A320, one route, back and forth, EGAC to EGLL. That's it. But that's the way it starts in the real world. You start working at the regionals, you work way up to the big boys. So yeah, it's quite the well-designed piece of software. Anyways, I just see just a waypoint went by, so I'm just going to do a real quick fuel and time check here. So it just passed by Razzle 1541 with 5.5 in the tanks. 1541 with 5.5 on the tanks. Razzle, there it is. 1541. Looks like we're right on time. And 5.5 in the tanks. We're pretty much bang on the fuel as well. So we're right on the plan. Not going any faster, not going any slower. We're just right on the plan. A320 is my ham. Really? You meant to say jam, but you typed ham. I like it. A320 is my ham. That's gonna be my new slogan. I'm gonna get shirts with that printed on it. A320 is my ham. A320 is my ham as well. Don't worry. All right, let's see how we're doing here for time. We're about 1 hour to landing, so I kind of want to start setting up for Fort Lauderdale right now. Just let's see here, 16:38. So 16:08. I'm going to put in a 16:08. That's a 30-minute to landing call, so that we can alert the flight attendants at 30 minutes to landing. There it is, just ahead of the top of descent. And you can see we're offshore right now. We're just trucking down the east coast across the, shortcutting past Georgia, and this is basically, you can see Florida here, the Bahamas. It's all there. All right. Yeah, let's start setting up for arrival. First thing I'm going to do is just want to check out VATSIM vPilot here. No ATC, no controllers in range, no surprise there. Anybody at all online controlling in Florida? I'm just looking here on vPilot, my other screen. No, nobody's online at all in Florida. All right, that's fine. No big deal. We're going to head down there. Okay, so let's pull up an ATIS and let's set up for arrival. And then I got at least one more topic I want to talk about, but let's just start setting up for arrival so that we don't get behind the 8 ball here. Because in about an hour, that's about the time to start setting up. So let's pull up the FAA Digital ATIS for Fort Lauderdale. There we go. Information November 1453 Zulu. It's going to be updated here shortly. 09020, gusting 24. A little gusty, 10 miles, broken 2,000, broken 55, and broken 25,000. 30 degrees, 24 degrees, 30 inches even. Arrivals expect ILS approach 10 left or 10 right. Departing runways 10 left and 10 right. Parallel ops are being conducted. Tower frequency for 10 left, 93, 10 right, 20.2. Alert 21.4, taxi, Tango 8 closed. Pappy's 10 left out of service. Cranes in vicinity of the airport. Shoreline traffic towards birds in vicinity of the airport. Yeah, the A320 Metro channel is great. There's so much to learn about this airplane. There's so many things. It's so deep. Nobody knows everything about the Airbus. It's just impossible. There's just so much depth there. But the A320 Metro channel is great. Glideslope interception from above. Yeah, that's a challenging one to do for sure. It's possible. It's very possible. But the one thing I'll say is if you're going to do glideslope interception from above, is be ready to just say no. Try it and see if you can get it to work. And you need to be at least flaps 2 and preferably gear down in order to be able to do it. You can hit you can set a VS of maybe 15, even up to 1,700 feet per minute. Anything above 1,500, you're going to start accelerating as you go down. So depending on how high you are above the slope, it may not be possible to do it. Well, it's better to intercept from below. That's the way a glide slope should be intercepted. It's designed to be intercepted from below. Hit it level straight and then hit it and go down. That's the way it's designed to do it. You can do it from above, but you've got to be ready to say it's not going to work. A lot of people get themselves in trouble by saying, I think we can do it, we can do it, and then they're coming down, and maybe they get the glide slope, but they're way too fast, and they're unable to deploy the remaining flaps in time. Even drop the gear and still not good enough. So you've got to be ready to say no. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. that's the hardest thing, I think, is to learn to say no. So don't be afraid to say no. Say, no, it just didn't work. We couldn't quite get down fast enough, couldn't slow it down enough. Go around flaps, try it again. It's doable. It totally is doable, but not in every case. And so that's my biggest tip to you is be ready to say no, just in case it's not working out for me. It's not getting to where I need to go, and it's just not going to be safe. It's not going to be stable. It's not going to be safe. If you can do that, then by all means have at it. It's not hard to do, but yeah, you've got to be aware of what the airplane can do. And in the 320, yeah, if you've got the gear down and flaps 2, you can probably do about 1,600 feet per minute down the hill, which is about double what you would be doing on the glide slopes. But once you start getting up to 1,500 feet per minute, you're going to start gaining speed. You might be able to even eke it up to 1,700. Depends on how heavy or light the airplane is, temperature conditions, everything that day. But yeah, start at about 1,2 to 1,500 and be ready for that acceleration. Be ready to say it might not work. Okay, anyways, back to Fort Lauderdale. So we're going to land at Fort Lauderdale at 10 left, 10 right. So I'm going to say for us, from where we're coming from, it's probably going to be 10 left, I would expect. I would assume 10 left. It makes the most sense anyway. So yeah, let's set up for the ILS to 10 left. So first, let's just crunch some numbers here. Let's just make sure it is safe for landing in Fort Lauderdale. So just because there are some rain showers around, I'm going to select condition code 5. I'm going to apply that METAR and landing weight. So let's just have a quick look at the prediction page here. So 56.3 plus the 4.1 expected fuel, that would be 60.4. And then I always add just a couple hundred extra kilos for a little margin, just in case we get some shortcuts and we don't burn as much gas as expected. So I'll do 60.7 as a landing weight. All right, we've applied the METAR. If we do low auto brake, idle reverse, manual landing, flaps full, and auto thrust on. Let's see here. That kind of takes us up to factor distance is 8,000 feet on an 8,900 foot runway. Huh. All right, I think we're going to throw it down to medium auto brake. It's only leaving us less than 1,000 foot margin, which is where it starts to get uncomfortable. It's about the 1,000 foot margin. So if I put max reverse on there, does it make much of a difference? All right, we'll do low auto brake max reverse. We'll do it that way. And that still leaves us about 1,000 foot margin from the factor distance. Okay, let's get set up. Let's get this on there. Let's get constraints up. Let's put this to a reasonable zoom level here. And let's go charts. All right, so let's make sure we're joining this at Magic here. So let's just check and make sure all the waypoints are in here in the right order. Magic, IBID, Plump. Birdman is the first restriction after Plump. 280 knots, 28 to 24. Yep. Junix above 21. Holt at 270 above 15,000. Weehoo above 13,000. Mackle above 11,000, 260 knots. Cuda at 8,000. That looks like the bottom altitude on the star. And then looks like for 10 left, we're going to go out to Waynar. So Lockers, Seraph, BPAC, and Waynar. And then a manual leg after that. We're going to do vectors around for an ILS to runway 10 left. All right, ILS to runway 10 left. So let's do it this way. Warrior, yep. Warrior above 3,000. Novi at 1,800. And then the missed approach is 800 feet, climbing left turn to 4,000 on the Fort Lauderdale 90-degree radial outbound to the Martz intersection. So 800, 90-degree course inbound to Martz, hold at 4,000. All right, that's good. RadNav might be a little far out. Oh, there it is. ILHI 110.1 and 096. That looks good. Prog page. We'll put FLL there for reference. So we're 269 miles away, 36,000. We're good here. GPS primary nav accuracy high. Descent 76 and 251. That's a little slow, but that's fine. QNH of, where did I put my ATIS here? Hold on. It was 30 inches even. 30 inches, 30 degrees, 09020. 30 inches, 30 degrees, and yeah, 094 at 20. That's fine. ILSDA of 207. And the missed approach is at 4,000, so we're going to accelerate at 4,000. All right, fuel prediction shows we're showing up with 1.6 extra, which is 47 extra minutes. It's good. Lots of extra fuel there before we go off to Melbourne Beach. We'll recopy the active there. And if I was smart, what I'd do is I'd throw the ILS 10 right in there. And then I've got something good in the backup. Same star. It's the same transition, so I don't need to worry about changing any of that. And you can just look at it on the screen up there. I think I might have to zoom in just to see this here, but it's the same up to Waynar. And then you can see it's blame Lorry. And let's just pull it up here as well just to make sure we've got it. I don't anticipate doing it, but if ATC comes online and we're to assign it to us, we want to be ready. We got lots of time and crews to set these things up, so let's do it now. So ILS 10 right would be blame above 3,000, Lorry at 1,800. And then the missed approach is 800, climbing right turn 2,000, Fort Lauderdale 115 radial outbound to Ulsas 2,000. All right, that all looks good. So the secondary's got something useful in it. Let's also just make sure the secondary perf is completed. And that requires 264 ILSDA. All right, missed approach on this one is different. It's 2,000 feet. And there we go. Box is all set up. Before I forget, let's tell my FS2 crew exactly what we're going to do as well here. I lost my FS2 crew. Where's my FS2 crew? There it is. All right, so good. Runway wet, yes. ILS, weather could be a threat. Auto land, no. Final sector, no. Yes, you're going to require the LS button. MDA, what did I say, 207 on the main one here? 207, yep. Airport elevation at 65 feet officially, with the touchdown's on 7 feet. Seems weird, doesn't it? But anyways, all right, there we go. That's all set up as well. And the only thing I haven't done yet is I haven't checked the NOTAM. So let's just have a quick look through the NOTAMs, make sure it's all good to go. And then we'll set up a briefing here. And then there's one more thing that I kind of wanted to talk about because I thought it was a little bit interesting. It's something I came across last week or the week before. It was the week before even, but let's just set this up first. So let's just go to Fort Lauderdale, make sure we're aware of what's going on here. So taxiways, Alpha between Quebec and Alpha 4, close wingspan 118 feet. Alpha between Quebec and Alpha 4, working progress, maintenance, drainage, pumping. Holding position signs, ILS taxi safety area, regular surface, bird activity, non-standard markings, non-standard markings, non-standard markings, markings obscured, markings removed, faded, a lot of markings. Runways, 28 right, RVR thresholds and serviceable sequence flashing lights. It's okay, we're not even landing 28 right, we're 10 left. EMAS system not standard. Let's not use the EMAS. Safety area surface variation northeast end, 10 left, PAPI's unserviceable. PAPI's unserviceable, okay, that could be useful to know. We'll follow the glide slope all the way down in that case. DME's required, PBI 4 attack out of service, that's fine. Or GPS required. No, DME required for aircraft, except for aircraft suited with circles. RNAV, yeah. That's right, 10 left. Alternate minimums not applicable, except for aircraft with suitable GPS systems. Circling categories, nothing exciting in 10 left there. Nope, nothing at all exciting on 10 left. All right. You have control.
I have control.
Are you ready for the approach briefing?
Go ahead.
All right. So MELs don't really terribly affect performance other than the fact that we have to confirm on the wheel page that the correct auto brake mode is armed, auto brake low, because these lights are not supposed to be working because the BSU1 is not working per the MEL. However, it appears like the lights are working anyway, so I'm not sure what's going on with that, but that's fine. In which case, that's the only implication of the MEL. NOTAMs, nothing terribly exciting going on with the NOTAMs in Fort Lauderdale. Pappy's unserviceable 10 left is about the only thing I saw. So, today we're doing the CUDA-3 RNAV arrival into Fort Lauderdale. CUDA-3, that's on 10-2 Alpha. Let's see here. I didn't really read the notes, but landing east, use 10 left transition. So there you go, it's in there anyways. All right, yeah, nothing too special in the notes there. The routing and constraints are all as published. Everything is loaded up into the box. It's going to be a self-vector, or hopefully maybe one day a VATSIM ATC vector, to an ILS runway 10 left in Fort Lauderdale. Plate 11-1, ILHI 1101096, that's all been auto-tuned. The glide slope at Novi 1800 and the ILSDA of 207 feet, and you can see 207 feet on the barrel. Missed approaches as published is otherwise advised by ITC, top altitude 4,000, MSA 2,100 feet, all sectors around the Fort Lauderdale VOR. No special notes. 3-degree glide slope. Pappies are unserviceable on the left, but in the sim they'll probably still be working anyways. MLSR lighting system, 2,400 RVR or a half mile with the full lighting systems required for landing. It's a beautiful day. Potentially some thunderstorms, but not expecting too much. Landing runway 10 left in Fort Lauderdale. We'll take a convenient right turn off the runway. It's probably going to be around Bravo 8. Might be Bravo 7 or Bravo 9, but anyways, we'll take the convenient, right turn off the runway. Did I say left? Right turn off of 10 left. And to go to a gate, let's just bring up the... So our gate is Echo 6 for arrival. So we're going to have to come around the south side of the Echo concourse here, right on the corner. So it'll probably be a left turn onto Bravo and then Tango down around into concourse E Echo 6. And yeah. Anything special on the 10-9 Alpha page? Since they put all their notes on here. Birds on vicinity of airport. Runway is noise sensitive. Preferential runway use. Turbulence below 1,000 over landfill 2 miles west. SDX in use. Operate mode C transponders. Air carrier use ramp pushback procedures as prescribed. Arriving from West Main, North and West Main 6000 will beam 28 right. Runway status and lights in operation. Terminal Doppler weather radar. Highlight mass west of northwest approach and 28 left. Close to air carrier training. Jet run-ups not authorized. Numerous trees southwest quadrant of airport. Prior permission required for aircraft with explosives. No VFR approaches or base lights until offshore. 10 right traffic, 28 right traffic. Do not mistake Bravo for takeoff landing service. Okay, so nothing too crazy on there. Yeah. So that's the planned approach. It's going to be a low glide slope coupled approach manual. Or managed approach to manual landing. Once we're clear for the approach, we'll engage approach mode. Second, autopilot. Anti-ice is going to be off. Auto brakes low. We'll do max reverse and config full for landing. Autopilot will come off when we're established on final. Thanks, Microsoft. When we're established on final, and what am I trying to say here? Autopilot will come off when we're established on final, and no traffic's ahead. Landing's assured. That's about it. We've got the RadNav auto-tuning, the fuel we've talked about. We've got 48 minutes of extra fuel, so we'd have to do a go-around without too much issue. That's all I got. Threats for the approach. So the one threat I was thinking about while I was looking at the chart here is we do need a tower frequency up for Fort Lauderdale. Do they have multiple tower frequencies? They do, so let's just check the vPilot for the CTAF frequency for Fort Lauderdale. It says Fort Lauderdale's 19.3. So let's get the CTAF frequency ready to go. That's probably my biggest threat, is that we'll be VATSIMing without ATC, so we'll have to make the appropriate traffic calls on 19.3, coordinate with other traffic in the air. Other than that, the brake MEL is not really too much of a threat. Landing distance is a bit of a threat. It's not really a big threat. I've just got auto brake low for the comfort of the passengers. We'll do max reverse initially. If the deceleration rate seems at all questionable, we'll just switch to manual braking. Potentially some convective weather. So we've done wet numbers already, so we're covered for wet numbers. It is a little bit of a gusty wind out of the east, so it's more or less right down the runway. I don't think there's anything moving into the area right now. We do have some holding fuel. If we question the approach at all, we can just hold for a little bit. Our alternate was Melbourne Beach. I'm just going to reload this so that it loads the most recent weather radar loop. And there we go. Just a little bit of stuff, but just a little bit of stuff building offshore here. Nothing we can't pick our way around. And like I said, if we have to, we can hold briefly, delay our arrival until the weather is passed. That's all I can really think of for threats. Two-engine taxi into the gate. That's all I got. It'll be a short, pretty quick taxi in. Any questions?
No questions.
I've just started building an A320 pedestal today using 18mm MDF. I intend to build the whole cockpit eventually. I'll build the captain's chair next. Very good. Well done, sir. Something I would love to do one day, and I've kind of sort of started to evolve my own flight deck here. I have a mini FCU. I have a Thrustmaster Airbus side stick. I have Thrustmaster throttle quadrant. So I do kind of have a good portion of it going here. And between the mini FCU, if they can get that mini EFIS out as well with the altimeter on it, oh, that'll be just dreamy. That'll be about all I need, and I'll be happy. It would be nice to have the full-on thing, though. You'd need a powerful computer to run it, I would think, just to power enough screens to keep everything going here. Speed FPA minus 0.1. Why is it FPA minus 0.1? What the heck happened here? Why is it descending? All right. It must have got kicked off during that turbulence. So now we've got alt nav. I sold my mini FCU. I need full scale. That's fair. If you really want to do the full thing, full scale, absolutely. I get it. I can see why that would be important to you. Absolutely. And yeah. There are, and I'm pretty sure there are alternatives, and if not, you can make your own. I would suggest, or I wouldn't suggest, I would consider, if you're really serious about building your own full-scale flight deck, if you haven't already. Why is the flight director off? Why is everything off? What the heck happened here? I would suggest possibly investing in a 3D printer. Because for what the parts cost, and especially when you consider how many things you're going to need, things like knobs and various certain shaped knobs and things like that, a 3D printer might be a good investment. You can make a lot of kind of stuff with MDF and things like that, and you can buy some of the switches. But what is going on with this thing? What is going on here? That's weird. That's really weird. Thrust climb, open climb, all blue. Why does it keep doing stuff here? I've never seen this before. Oh, I think I know why, because she's listening to me do stuff. I thought I had muted my FS2 crew, and I think it's the FS2 crew that's doing everything here. Because the anti-ice went on as well. The wind wing looks great, but Scalarchy is a real deal, but expensive. 3D printer is a great idea, yeah. You could probably, there's certain things that would be very hard to replicate, and certainly the push-pull actions of some of these FCU switches would be very hard to replicate without very specialized hardware to begin with. But certainly a lot of stuff you could make with a 3D printer. Yeah, if I can bring this up here, but things like this. This is now my Airbus A320 flap selector. It's not quite perfect because it's not square. It's kind of rectangular, but it fits on the honeycomb. But it's spring loaded, and it's got a nice little detent that actually fits onto my honeycomb. So, yeah, I think if you're really serious about that, you can certainly probably save yourself a lot of money on certain parts by 3D printing stuff. I mean, you could mass produce 3D printed circuit breakers and have a very realistic looking circuit breaker panel. I printed that myself. It's a model that's available online, so it's basic. It's something that's I'm just kind of getting into now. But yeah, anyways, it's a suggestion, something to look into. You don't have to. 3D printers don't have to be very expensive. There are 3D printers now that are pretty good that you can get for like easily less than $300 US. Again, it depends on kind of, if you have other applications too, then it could be very useful, but certainly you could do a lot of the custom stuff around the flight deck. If you're really serious about building a full flight deck, you could do a lot of the custom stuff, knobs and things like that around the flight deck as 3D printed parts. And if you go and look online, there is a whole world of people who have already made these things, that have already designed these things, that you just have to print them. Let me see if I can find. So, like, if you search for A320, you've got people who have already created autopilot buttons and pedestal stuff, you know, an FCU panel, EFIS panel, all that sort of stuff. So there's people have already. This has already been done by a lot of people. So you could definitely add to it. Various knobs for the FCU. The engine start switches, knobs and levers and everything like that. So I've been thinking about a 3D printer for over a year. I don't know. Oh, I misspelled it just as I don't know where to start. So many options under 500 pounds. Yeah, I have kind of gotten into it, but I would not be a great place to sort of start. But I will say that a lot of these ones are pretty reasonable. You don't go with the really cheap stuff, but good brands to look at would include Creality, Bamboo, would be kind of two of the good entry-level brands. All right, there's our top of descent, and I missed our call to the flight attendant. So flight attendant's 25 minutes to landing. There's our top of descent point. So let's go ahead and set the bottom altitude, which I believe was 5,000 on the star. 5,000 feet set. Roger, 5,000. Thrust idle descent, all blue. Was it 5,000? I'm just going to double check here. Where's the arrival here? It was 8,000. That's my mistake. That's why I looked. I wasn't really sure. 8,000 feet is now set. I don't believe we have a descent checklist in this aircraft, so we're fine. Yeah. What's the other brand? Prusa also makes good 3D printers as well. So you know, any of these name brand ones could, any of these brands would definitely, you could get some reasonably affordable ones. I ended up going with the Creality. It was probably one of the most affordable options, but I went with the KE model, and they were having a good sale on it just a month ago, so I went with that one. And it's been very good. I've enjoyed it. It does good printing. It prints pretty fast, all things considered. You know, time is the other aspect you've got to consider when you get into 3D printing. Is it still takes a long time to print these objects one layer at a time, because each layer is 0.2 millimeters thick, sometimes less, sometimes more, but roughly 0.2 millimeters thick. So 5 layers just to produce a single millimeter. It quickly adds up to a lot of time. Is it noisy? It's not hugely noisy. It is a bit noisy. The biggest noise on it really is the fan that's running, that's cooling the object as it's being printed. So as it pushes the hot plastic out and then it tries to cool it, it's the cooling fans are probably the noisiest aspect of it. I wouldn't want to sleep in the same room with it. Certainly wearing this headset, it's fine if I'm sitting next to it, and because it's right over here, and it's going, it's fine. It's not like so noisy you can't be in the same room. Yes, it's noisy. It's a whirring fan that's constantly going. It's like having your computer fan on the desk next to you. There is some other noise from the motors moving back and forth and all the parts moving back and forth, but the fan is the biggest continual noise. And it's not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable. But yeah, I did the Creality Ender V3 KE, which is the newest Ender version, and it's wireless, which is kind of nice, so you don't have to use a micro SD card or a USB stick to transfer things from your computer to the printer. You can transmit them directly through your network, which is kind of nice. Yeah, it's a basic printer, but it does actually a pretty nice job. I've made quite a few things over the last little while. Things that I've made include like a little counter. So there's just a nice little counter with that you can actually. This is actually how I'm actually keeping track of my flight numbers when I'm flying on the network now. So there is JetBlue 1579, and I keep it down here, and that way, when you're flying these random flight numbers, it's so easy. In another room should be fine, then absolutely. If it's not in the room you're constantly working in, that's fine. The thing to consider about where you place it, depending on the material you're going to use. So I've been using PLA, which is just cheap plastic. It's not cheap, but it's polylactic acid, which is a very non-toxic plastic, very generally safe plastic, and it's very good for starting out because it's got a nice low melting point. It sticks very nicely, and it's very non-toxic. You start to get some of the other levels of plastic, and you start to get toxic. You can start to get toxic fumes when it starts to heat up. You get some of them stink pretty badly. Some of these plastics can stink pretty badly. So you'd want to think about ventilation potentially if you want to use harder plastic. So PLA is good for day-to-day use, and probably for your flight deck would probably be okay. But if you're ever printing stuff that you'd ever want to use outside, or stuff that you need to have a much harder, higher impact resistance, ABS is the kind of plastic you would often use for that. It's a lot like Lego type plastic. It's a very hard plastic, but it apparently stinks to high hell when you're trying to print with it. So ventilation, whether you have a window nearby, certainly might be something that you need to consider as well. Need a little bit more drag, I guess. Yeah, that's another consideration for the types of plastic. And the other thing, if you're getting into it, that if you're not reading the right stuff, you don't get warned about. Somebody I was talking to about it warned me about it, but a lot of the filaments. The other thing you probably want to know is a lot of the filaments, especially PLA, which is the one you'll often start out with, it's very hygroscopic, which means it tends to attract water, and water molecules stick to it. And if the water molecules get stuck to it as it's going through the printer, you can start to get, you can lose quality in your print, because as it goes to the printer, the water instantly vaporizes, creates little steam bubbles in your plastic, and degrade your print. So you need to keep, when you're not printing with it, you need to keep your plastic very dry. So it's usually a box to store the plastic in. You'll need you'll need something to store the plastic in that keeps it very dry. So a dry box, preferably with some desiccant in it. So it's a constant problem for people who are who are 3D printing, is trying to keep their stuff dry. So whether you put a box in it and just pull the loops out, pull the spools out only when you need it, or whether you pull the spools out, or whether you have like a little hole in the box that you drill specifically to just to pull the stuff out directly from the box without ever taking it out of the box. But that's something to consider as well, as where you're going to keep the boxes. Anywho, yeah, could be a lot of fun. You quickly fall down a rabbit hole. There's so much stuff out there that you can print and organize your life a little bit. I finally actually found a place to attach all my Dyson vacuum attachments. So we bought a Dyson vacuum a while back to replace our existing vacuum, and it came with 9 attachments and nowhere to attach them. So they were literally just sitting in a box on the floor in the closet. And it's like, let's mount these on the wall. So there are, of course, people who have done that, people who have created nice little mounts. So so that's what I did. 3D printed that and made it a lot neater. If I can find what I printed. What I just printed was this, which is just a tool holder, but then each one holds only 3 tools, but then you just simply printed 3 of them side by side, and now all of a sudden everything is neatly organized in our closet. You can see exactly where everything is instead of everything being all over the place. So there's lots of neat little projects you can get into with this. And of course, yeah, like you can customize things like your honeycomb quadrant or whatever. Like if you don't want to have all the dedicated Airbus stuff, you can customize. So I have now the Airbus flat track on my honeycomb just to make it a little bit more realistic. It's got the detents. It's a lot easier to find the detents now. All right. Anybody on VATSIM yet? Nobody yet. All right. We're getting down there. Next restriction is 270 knots above 15,000. So what I might do is I might start doing the selected speed for now to get us to 270 knots, because we're supposed to cross it at 270 knots. And that'll help us go down anyways. That doesn't look too bad. I was watching Adam Savage YouTube channel. He's building cabinets for his 3D printer. To be honest, they looked a bit flimsy to me. I would have built the cabinets much stronger to prevent lateral vibration. That could be a problem. But that's kind of the fun thing about these as well. And I watched one video early on, and I did watch a few Adam Savage videos as well. But I watched one video early on, and there was a great tip. And the very first tip the guy gave, like 10 tips for new printers kind of video, was just remember that it's a hobby. You're not going to have perfection every time. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be errors. You're going to learn as you go, in terms of temperatures, in terms of what works, what doesn't, what needs supports, what doesn't need supports. You're going to learn. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to waste some plastic from time to time doing this. But the key is to remember it's a hobby and enjoy it, not just not get too obsessed over whether or not everything's working out perfectly every single time. Yeah, if you build, definitely noise and vibration is an issue. And if you are going to build a cabinet, yeah, like it's got to be something like I've got it perched on my desk, and when it starts going to town, you feel the whole desk move. You can feel the vibration. Like it's not moving substantially, but you can feel the vibration through the whole desk. There is a lot of vibration in there. It's built to do that to a certain degree. It's not. Wow, that was suddenly really loud. Oh, that's why. Okay. All right, so there's transition. There's 30 inches, which is 1016. That's how I cheat and do it now. 1016, there it is. Speed. Yeah, vibration could be an issue. They're designed to vibrate a certain amount. If you're worried about it, you can always... one thing about 3D printers is that the people who use 3D printers are generally all very... engineering-oriented kind of people, so there's lots of solutions engineered for them. So a lot of these gantry-style printers, yeah, it's just 2 arms and a beam across the middle, but then you'll see a lot of people add like additional supports coming off the side because they see a problem and they say, hey, I can 3D print a solution to this. All right, the next, oh, that was 270 was that restriction. Yeah, the next restriction is 260. Is it 260 or 250? Looks like 260 to me. So let's get 260 in there for the next restriction. Yeah, so maybe you can install, yeah, and that's exactly it. Maybe you can install rubber grommets or washers onto the 3D printer to reduce vibration, and absolutely probably could. I haven't seen it be a problem yet, per se. I have had a couple builds that kind of went a little bit sideways, but I've had problems with things not sticking properly to the base plate. I've had problems. Well, that and see, that's the thing is if you're that kind of person, if you're always building houses for a living and always solving problems, then a 3D printer's right up your alley. People are constantly solving problems for their 3D printers. I mean, half the stuff that gets printed by 3D printers, I think, is just stuff to help the 3D printer. So, like, you go and do a search for like printer bracing, printer supports, and like people have done all sorts of things where they print little adapters so that they can add extra support beams. They'll go and they'll buy like some metal rods from the home improvement store, and they'll build all sorts of extra things. So like I just typed in literally printer bracing, and look at how many different projects people have come up with where they've got additional braces for their printers. Usually it's only the vertical gantry, and then they add people add these diagonal ones to reduce the amount of vibration to make it a little bit more solid. So the fact is, like, it's a thing moving around. There's going to be a reaction, and it's going to cause some vibrations. I'm not worried about the vibrations, but I have looked at some of these things, and I've thought about doing some of these types of bracing for my printer as well, just to sort of keep it a little bigger. But there's, like I said, like these printers, they're fairly modular, and people are always coming up with ways to improve them. And if you're that kind of person, then this is right up your alley. You might get a lot of kick out of this. Things I built for my 3D printer so far included like a better way to get the filament to the printer. All right, I'm just going to go 250 now. So a better way to route the filament to the 3D printer. I built a holder for all my tools, and I'm also going to, today I'm going to print a little garbage tray that I'm going to put next to it, so all the little bits that you get cut off or left behind, I have somewhere to just sweep them all into, and then dump the whole thing in the garbage instead of always kind of sweeping them into my hand and losing 4 of them on the ground and having to pick them up off the ground. I'm going to have a little garbage tray right next to my printer so that I can just sweep everything into the garbage tray. But that's the kind of thing. It's the floor carpet or timber. It's actually concrete because we're in the basement, so it's concrete under a laminate floor. So yeah, it's a laminate floor, so it's a hard floor, so it doesn't absorb much shock. But I'm not overly concerned about it. But if you are, like, there's always ways around it. All right, so I'm just looking out the window here. I see a little bit of convective activity here. We're going to fly into a cloud. It's plus 19. We're going to get the seatbelts on now because it's going to get a little bit bumpy here. And we might as well just do the in-range checks early. Approach checklist.
Barrow ref.
3000 inches set.
3000 set. Seatbelts.
On. On.
Minimum.
207 feet set.
Auto brake.
Low. Armed.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
Approach checklist completed.
Alright, we're going to go to the CTAF frequency now. We're a little bit high at this CUDA restriction here. I was kind of yakking away, not paying attention to what I was doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be arriving at our destination shortly. If you are making a connection to another flight, please see the customer service agent meeting this flight.
We're going to be slightly high at CUDA here. Not bad.
For your continued safety, flight attendants
We might actually just make it here. We got a mile to go here. We're catching it. I'm going to go ahead and manage the speed here. There's speed alt star. Might as well close the speed brakes now. That's as close as we're getting. We got it down in the end. It was close.
Please use caution when opening overhead bins as items may have shifted during our flight. Please store your tray table.
She keeps on throwing switches because the mute doesn't always work. I have concrete floor with carpet, so minimum vibration for 3D printer. I'd still install 1/4 inch rubber washers under the desk or cabinet. Yeah, and that's very reasonable, and I've thought about it. I'm not overly concerned about the amount of vibration. I don't think it's having a terrible effect on the prints right now, but put it on the slightly longer term plan. Try not to spend all my money in one go. Got to save my money for that PMDG 777, right? Alright, so what we'll do is we'll descend to 5,000. Actually, let's do this first. Let's just see what this SID off of Fort Lauderdale says here. Just to see what other airplanes are doing around us. If anyone's departing Fort Lauderdale, where would they put us? It doesn't even matter which one I use, although I think the Agers one goes in our direction. What's the top altitude? 4,000 for initial departure. So yeah, so let's do that. Let's do 5,000. Until we get a beam in the field, then we'll go lower. Alright, so 5,000 feet is set, roger 5,000, and I've got thrust idle descent, all blue. Got the right CTAF frequency up there, enter destination data, it's already entered, we're good. Fort Lauderdale traffic, JetBlue 1579 is 15 miles northeast of the field. We're setting up for a left downwind for the ILS, runway 10 left. All right, JP, it was nice talking to you, and yeah, I'll be done for the day once we land in Fort Lauderdale, but hopefully we'll catch you on another stream soon. In the meantime, I hope you subscribe, and hopefully you get poked about the future streams. We can talk more. Flight deck, Captain speaking.
The cabin is now secure for landing.
Thank you. All right. Getting a little dreary out there. Temperature's still good, plus 26 tot, so I don't think we need the anti-ice just yet. This actually felt like a really quick flight today. Maybe it's just because we had so much to talk about with that 777 and everything, but that felt like a really quick flight. The next one's not too long either. Not going to do it today, but the next flight we do have set up is there's speed. Is Fort Lauderdale over to New Orleans, which is kind of a neat little sort of sideways flight. Instead of going up and down the East Coast, which is what JetBlue seems to do about 75% of the time, that's going to be a nice little sort of just different leg of the triangle type flight. So I'm looking forward to that. But that'll be maybe next week. I'm not sure if it's going to fit in next week. We'll try it. We'll see what happens. No guarantees. All right, there's 5,500 descending 5,000. We're just crossing the coastline here, so the Fort Lauderdale airport should be right over there somewhere, just kind of out of sight behind the cloud here, but we'll see in a minute. And, oh, actually, sorry, there it is, right there. So I'd say we're just about... Yeah, so we're just about to be in the field, so let's go ahead and go down to 3,000 feet. 3,000 feet set, Roger, 3,000.
Miami traffic, yellow 1557 heavy, cargo city ramp, starting push and stop, report for taxi at the runway 0909er, Miami traffic.
Is that the same CTAF for Miami as it is for Fort Lauderdale? I find that hard to believe, but 18.3. He's on the wrong frequency. And calling from Miami, just double check the frequency. Miami, the CTAF should be 18.3, 1183. All right, looking good. A little bit of a plane wash here as we go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull speed and start bringing her back to about 210. Should still be well above green dot, and we can go ahead and activate approach phase.
Okay, thank you for your info. Yellow 1557.
No problem. Have a great day. All right. So now we got 4,000 descending 3,000. Bringing the speed back so we can start configuring here shortly. Looking like a nice day outside. And while we're just not doing anything else momentarily, let's see if we can pull up gate Echo 6 as an arrival gate. And do I not have JetBlue? Yeah, JetBlue. I think JetBlue should handle JetBlue. It would seem to make the most sense, but what do I know? Pick some random operator instead of the actual airline operator. All right. I didn't think Miami and Fort Lauderdale would have the same tower frequency. He was close, and I think I almost made the same mistake. I think I initially had 18.3 and then swapped it over. I think I almost made the exact opposite of his mistake. Tuned in Miami when I meant Fort Lauderdale. He tuned in Fort Lauderdale when I meant Miami. All right. Flaps 1. Flaps 1.
Speed checked. Flaps 1.
I didn't say it. 3,500 descending 3,000. And looks like we're up for the self vector here. So let's get a heading of 190. Pull. There's open. There's VS minus 400 heading. That's fine. And let's go to no change in status. Remove status. Remove status. Let's go direct to Warrior radial in. Direct to Warrior. 278 radial in. That makes sense. We'll insert that. And then we get nav. We get heading again. Back to heading 190. And we never did put the LS buttons on. That would help. Speed, Alt Star. Let's get the speed back to 190 here. Fort Lauderdale traffic. JetBlue 1579 is about to join a 14-mile final. Runway 10 left, Fort Lauderdale. All right, that's close enough there. Let's go ahead, go heading 130. Heading's 130. And let's go ahead and arm approach mode. So we got Loke Blue, Glideslope Blue, Cat 3 Dual, Autopilot 1 and 2, and there's Loke Star. Nice. Looking good. Here comes Fort Lauderdale. A little bit of convective activity, but nothing too bad out there. I didn't even have a chance to fail anything on this flight. Oh well, too bad. What can you do? There's Loke. Let me get myself kind of in position here. All right, see if we can do 180 to Nova. All right, there's 180 selected. Flaps 2.
Speed checked. Flaps 2.
There's Glideslope Star. Missed approach altitude of 4,000 feet set. Roger, 4,000. Glideslope. Why does she have ignition on? Why is ignition on? Why is ignition on? We don't have the anti-ice on. Weird that ignition stayed on. There's some weird glitches today. I don't know what's quite going on here. Alright, typical American fashion. Maintain 180 knots till you get to the FAF and then suddenly drop the gear and try and slow down real quick. Gear down.
Gear down. Cabin crew be seated for landing.
Alright, that's 1 mile away. For the time it's going to take to decelerate, that's fine. We'll manage the speed now. Alright. Flaps 3.
Speed checked. Flaps 3.
Fort Lauderdale traffic. JetBlue 1579 Nova final. Runway 10 left. It's a 5-mile final. 10 left. Fort Lauderdale. Flaps full.
Speed checked. Flaps full.
Landing checklist.
ECAM memo.
Landing no blue. Landing no blue.
Landing checklist completed.
Alright, autopilot's coming off. Cat 1.
Checked. $1,000.
Check.
Checked.
1,000.
500.
Land.
Checked.
100 above.
100 above.
Check.
Checked.
Minimum.
Continue.
Minimums. Checked.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 10. 5.
Spoilers. Reverse green. Desal. $70 knots.
Manual brakes. Fort Lauderdale traffic. JetBlue 1579, clearing runway 10 left, taxiing to gate Echo 6. After landing checklist.
Radar and predictive wind shear system.
Off. Off. Off and checked. Set and checked. Off. Set and checked. Oh, I give up on you. Apparently she's not going to do anything else after landing, so we're going to get all the lights. She seems frozen now. All right, so we're going to taxi down Tango here, around the corner for gate Echo 6. There. Now she's doing it all. All right, and we made it to Fort Lauderdale. We just got to get around the corner here to the gate. Not too much traffic up here on VATSIM today, unfortunately, but that's okay. We're still doing our best to operate this as cool, as real as we can here. I see some staff over there, so I think our gate is ready. All right, and we still have the brake system 1 fault. You can clear that and remove status. Here comes the APU. Set and checked. Off. Repeat last. No, the voice engine seems to be frozen, perhaps. Too bad. Too bad. All right. Approaching the gate. Lights off. Weather radar's off. Brake accumulator's good. And NTAS is off. The APU is still starting. She's just about there. All right. There's an Echo 6 on the wall, and there is a marshaller, so we're good. And away we go. Maybe it's just me, but the audio seems really quiet now. The background sound seems really quiet. I don't know, something happened there to kind of decrease the volume at some point. APU's available. Set and checked. Off. After landing checklist. What is going on with this thing now? Parking checklist. Shutdown checklist. All right, let me just do this really quick. I think there's a way to restart the voice engine, I think. Or is there? Maybe there isn't. I thought there was a way to restart the voice engine. Maybe there isn't. Set and checked.
After landing checklist completed.
Shutdown checklist. Parking checklist.
Parking brake or chocks.
Set.
Engines.
Off.
Wing lights.
Off.
Fuel pumps.
Off.
Parking checklist completed.
All right, and we made it. And they're offloading. The door is open. Cabin door is open, which means we can open the flight deck door. I don't think we get to watch people get off with GSX in this case, but that's too bad. All right, anyways, we made it. Welcome everybody not to Orlando, to Fort Lauderdale. And let's go ahead and hit submit on this before I forget to do anything else. Let's make sure we hit submit on this flight. Let's get this thing saved, and let's get paid. We got to get paid for our flight. And boom. Takes a couple seconds, but there it is. Your flight has been submitted. We are now on to our next flight. Our next flight will be Fort Lauderdale over to New Orleans. We're not going to do it today. I think it's actually a fairly short flight, so I might make that an evening flight again, just for fun. Hopefully, if I can find a day where other people can join me, because that's part of the reason why I want to do the evening flights is I just enjoy flying with other people as well. So hopefully, if I can organize it through my Discord, we can get a couple of people to do a group flight. That'd be great. And or get some ATC as we do the offshore Fort Lauderdale over to New Orleans. That's not a long flight, though. That is 585 miles. That's going to be like an hour-and-a-half flight. That's not going to be very long at all. But anyways, there we go. There's another lake done, everybody. Welcome to Fort Lauderdale. And let's see if I can make this look a little bit better here, because for some reason it's all wonky. There we go. Back to... There we go, back to unloading this thing. I might even just remove myself from the screen here for just a minute, just so you guys can see what's happening here. They're rolling the stuff out of the airplane onto the luggage cart, and they're going to be done here. And that's basically it for me for today, though. That was fun. That was really quick. At least I thought that was really quick. That felt really quick to me. I'm not sure why even. It wasn't really any shorter than the other flight we did last time, which was from Orlando up to DCA, but for some reason that felt super short. But maybe it's just because we had something really exciting to talk about. There's been kind of a little bit of a decrease, anyways, in the amount of news lately that's coming out of. I love that even the fan spins in the wind. I don't know if you can see that from there, but look at that. The fan is just, even as we're just sitting here, the fans are just spinning in the wind. And how fantastic is that? Yeah, even though, it was about the same length, it just felt short. But I think it's because we had so much to talk about with the 777 and a couple of things. And, of course, JP was talking to us about his potential home flight deck project, which sounds like a lot of fun. And it's something I've thought about from time to time. I don't know if I really have the dedication to do it. I don't have the space to dedicate to it is the first problem. Because this computer that I use for flight simming is my everything computer. It's not just my flight sim computer, although if you looked at it, you'd think it was just a flight sim computer for the number of components I have sitting around it. But it's not just a flight sim computer. It's an everything computer. So I you know, I kind of need to serve multiple purposes. I can't just dedicate it to dedicate the screen and everything to just flight simming. If I had an infinite amount of money, I might consider building a home cockpit, but I just don't think it's going to happen. So, anyways, that is enough for me, everybody. I hope you had a fun time today. I hope you enjoyed that, learned something, and join me when we finish off our season, which is season 12, which is just like, it's insane to me that I've done 12 seasons. So I've done like easily 120 plus episodes of live streaming my pilot's life career on Twitch, and you guys are still watching and still having fun, I hope, watching. Still hopefully learning something every time you watch this. But yeah, it just blows my mind that is how much I've done. How many hours I've done on the pilot's life, I don't even want to know. But anyways, enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Enjoy summer out there. I will try and have a stream for you. If not next week, I'll try to keep it to my 2-week schedule. And we'll get over to New Orleans. Maybe we'll do an evening flight and we'll have some fun. But in the meantime, guys, enjoy the rest of your day wherever it is, whatever you're doing. And we'll talk to you guys all out there in the VATSIM skies real soon. Take care.